And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger and roll, Atlantis.
Water towers fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Flight down to SPD off. Bring in SPD off. Off. It's orange!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage. Put that in the big bag, Tingle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
This methane would be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You dead? We don't need any more of these.
Good evening, everybody. We are live tonight looking in at Starbase, where Ship 25 is about to make its way to the launch site in anticipation of its lift onto Booster 9 and hopefully a flight very, very soon. I am Sawyer Rosenstein, and I will be your host for this evening as we get ready to watch it roll. And of course, as always, I'm joined by a fantastic team. That includes Adrian Bile. Adrian, how's it going?
It's going absolutely wonderful. I think we timed this pretty perfectly, and it looks like we are about to see Ship 25 roll.
Roll, baby, roll. Also joining us tonight, Trevor Sesnick. Trevor, how are you?
I am doing great. It's really exciting that August slipped away into a moment in time and we're now in September, which seems to be launch month. So this is awesome.
Oh, that's always the best part. And then tonight, pushing the buttons, pulling all the levers, is Mr. Kevin Michael Reed. He'll be the one producing our stream tonight. And we also have our fantastic team over at Starbase Live who will be helping to move some of these cameras and get these fantastic views of the roll over to you. A reminder, if you have any questions, you can tag us at NASASpaceflight, and we will do our best to answer as many of them as we can. But let's start off, Adrian. What have we seen so far leading up to this roll?
Yeah, there was some signs that it might be coming with the SPMTs going to the rocket garden. We also saw the counterweights being placed. Basically, we saw the signs. We knew it was coming. That's why we were ready. And the only special, or like at least notable thing here is that they have not listed any road closure for this. It seems like they are just going for rolling this out quickly. This is not unprecedented. We saw that before, that they just roll out something without any notice of road closure. This might also come down to the fact that we just came down from Sunday and Labor Day, so maybe nobody at the office that updates the website was working. So maybe they have basically a scheduled closure that just never appeared on the website. But yeah, overall, we are hopefully seeing the rollout here of Ship 25 very, very soon. And we saw the SPMTs turning on. So next up would be moving.
There you go. And yeah, as you mentioned, we have seen this with previous boosters without getting that road closure for it. There is still, though, plenty of sheriff's deputies out there, and kind of a rolling roadblock, at least, to allow for the movement of Ship 25 all the way over to the orbital launch mount area. And I thought Labor Day meant that was the day you were supposed to work. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, that's figured like SpaceX also has that misconception. They were like, yeah, it's Labor Day, so let's get some labor done.
Well, I think that brings us then to a good question here from Joshua, who asks, is this going to be just a roll or then a roll right into a lift? Trevor, what do you think?
Yeah, so this stream is expected to just be a roll, and early tomorrow morning or tomorrow midday, we are expecting a lift, which we will, of course, live stream as well. So just roll tonight, hopefully lift tomorrow, and we'll see what they do from there.
Yeah, if booster 9 was any indication of timing, it might be about 6 to 8, maybe a bit more hours between arriving at the launch site and then lifting. But yes, it's coming.
And that'll be a lift with the chopsticks, right?
Correct.
Oh yeah. They can only lift with the chopsticks at this point, because one of the major works that was done on Ship 25 was the removal of the crane lifting points and replacing them with TPS tiles. So from here on out, the only way to lift Ship 25 will be the chopsticks. So that's the only option they have.
And I know there's a lot of excitement. This may potentially be one of the last rollouts, but I think we can pretty much safely say that it won't be the final lift if they follow just as they did with Ship 24 and Booster 7, considering they still need to, once they get the approval for launch, arm the FTS, right? Or is that something they can do on the stack?
That is correct. So what we saw with the Booster 7 stack was SpaceX before launch, right? They destacked the ship, pulled the FTS pins, and then restacked. And then they were able to continue on with their launch day procedures. It's expected that that'll be the same for this launch. It's also probable that they'll change that in the future, so it's just a matter of when will they change that process. But I would expect a very similar lead up to flight that we saw for the first full stack.
And now this also has the sort of improved, I guess, bulked up flight termination system, or FTS. At least we saw that on the booster for sure. That they added what seems like a few more explosives to help guarantee, in the case that the flight termination system is needed, which of course we hope it isn't, that it'll fire properly.
Yeah, that is correct. On the booster, they added a whole nother charge on the CH4 tank, I believe. So the FTS system has been significantly beefed up.
Yeah, so then I guess again with the FTS not being armed yet, Jason here asking, will they static fire the ship before the flight test? Adrian, do you think that's going to happen?
They did. They static fired Ship 25. I think it was back in July even. It was June even. It was the only static fire was on June 26th with all 6 Raptor engines. That validates the upper stage. And no further static fires are planned for this ship. It's basically through its single part testing campaign. And next up, the only thing that this ship could still see in testing would be some sort of integrated cryo or wet dress rehearsal test. But that would be on top of Booster 9, and they cannot fire the ship on top of Booster 9. So yeah, it's done its static fire campaign. The next time Raptor engines light on this ship, it will hopefully be at about 70 kilometers of altitude.
You actually bring up a point that someone asked as a another question here of, do you think...
Oh,
yep.
we have
Do you see
movement.
movement?
Yes, we have movement.
There we go. First movement around 9:36 p.m. Central Time.
There it comes. You can see it. It's not the one that is on the other side of the road here. It's the one a bit to the left that is now on entering the road. You can now see it kind of like eclipsing in front of the. I think that's Ship 20 behind it. So yeah, there we go. It's rolling out. We have started rollout.
There we go. We have movement. So about how long does this whole process usually take, assuming that it may increase or decrease by a little bit? Trevor?
Yeah, it's usually about an hour from the production site to the launch site. It used to be closer to 2, but SpaceX has been moving at a quicker speed. It seems like they're moving about as quickly as the SPMTs go, so now it's in the neighborhood of an hour.
Right, and it's also interesting to note that the SPMTs, they also, before they can load up with the ship, you also, and move out, you have to add the counterweights. I believe there's something has to be pressurized as well, right, Adrian?
Yeah, basically what they tend to do is hook up these ships and boosters to some pressurization, because that gives them stability, and you want to make sure that your system is stable while you roll it out, because otherwise you're basically just rolling out a giant 70 meters, or not 70 meters, but a tall tin can. 70 meters is the booster. Sorry, this is, I think, more close to 50 meters.
Either way, that's still pretty tall.
Yeah, and you don't want to make like it sounds so trivial because we are like, oh, it's just a rollout. Well, it's still a rollout of basically a multi-story tall building. So
Yeah, it
this,
still has a mass of 200 tons or whatever.
yeah, like this thing, if this collapses or tips over, that's still a lot of damage and potential danger. So that's why you have all of these precautions. You make sure it's stable. You use counterweights. It's still a massive effort.
Oh, absolutely. And as you mentioned, even just visually watching more and more of these as they happen between the booster and the ships, they really do seem to roll out a heck of a lot faster than they used to. So it's kind of nice to see actually how they're just improving and eventually working towards their goal of making this an even more rapid turnaround once it's up and running.
Yeah, the whole launch countdown or testing sequence in general has gotten way quicker. Like it seemed like before, rollout was a whole day, and then stacking was a whole day procedure, and then they would, take several days to prepare for cryo testing or static fire or whatnot. And now it's just really quick back-to-back rollout, stacking or lifting of booster into a full test campaign. So it's been cool to see them learn this vehicle and start to get good at dealing with it.
Exactly, yeah, because from the looks of it at least, I'm sure there's a lot of things that have been upgraded and changed internally since Ship 24, but the outward design looks very similar. So they're kind of just getting to that point of, all right, here's where all of the attachment points are going to be for the SPMTs. Here's the attachment points for the chopsticks, and the more they do it, the faster they get. Let's take another question here. We know that we talked about the lift. We're expecting that to happen tomorrow morning. But what about the West dress rehearsal? Do we expect another one of those? Another static fire? Maybe even a full cryo-proof? Adrian, any idea what we're expecting?
Oh, that's a tough one because it's certainly something we are a bit of the unknown in right now. There's, I would say, three major paths. You have the path of a wet dress rehearsal, which would be a full simulation of the countdown. You also use the same commodities you use on flight day usually. Like it's basically a rehearsal of the whole countdown up until where you would ignite your engines, what you don't do. And there we go, it rolls. It rolls down now the rocket garden and goes to Highway 4. So we have moving quite fast.
Right, yeah, the bays give it a really good indication of speed there in that shot.
Yeah. So just to finish this answer, the other option would be a cryo test, which is more using liquid nitrogen and possibly some liquid oxygen instead of the methane load. It's a bit of a less dangerous test, a bit less complex. That's a possibility. The third thing that is also floating around, we'll see what in the end happens, is they might skip that altogether and just go to launch attempts and use these as modified wet dress rehearsals. And if they get to T0, well, that's a successful wet dress rehearsal, so you can just launch. So there's different paths, and so far SpaceX has not confirmed any road here. We will have to wait and see if they will perform additional testing.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see what comes after the full stack. Because, again, like you mentioned, there's that slight difference between the cryo test and the wet dress. But at the same time, this is also the first time that Ship 25 will be stacked atop Booster 9. So they may just want to make sure all the connections are there, especially now that we have the hot fire ring on top of Booster 9 as well. Let's see. Kind of along the lines, since we're comparing the last flight and this flight a bit. Trevor, I'll throw this one to you. Camden asking, are we expecting the same flight path as the first integrated flight test?
Yeah, so Adrian touched on that a little bit, and the answer is somewhat. I suspect we'll see some full stack testing, especially to test the quick disconnect for the ship, which I believe they've modified quite heavily. So to make sure that's all working before they go into launch. Um,
Sorry, Trevor. The question is about the flight
I
flight
think
path.
not the path to flight, but the actual where it's going to fly.
Yeah.
Yes, I interpreted that as path to flight.
All good.
Yes, the flight path is going to be, for all we know, basically identical. There'll be a few changes in the flight, such as we expect ignition of the Raptors to be roughly twice as quick, so it's starting up and getting off the pad in closer to 3 seconds as opposed to 6. It is possible that the engines will go to a higher throttle setting on this flight, although SpaceX and Elon have not commented. And then, of course, the other major difference will be if they make it to staging, it'll be hot staging. So aside from those differences, we're expecting basically identical flight profiles to the first launch.
Yeah, from my understanding, we're already kind of getting an idea of where the not Mars, which is noticed to mariners, are, which kind of gives a decent idea of the trajectory. And it appears like it's very similar to what we saw for the first integrated flight test going off of, South Texas there, and there's another one near Hawaii. So it seems like it'll be roughly the same attempted, slightly suborbital flight there. So, I mean, we'll wait for the official release. And again, it's very much expected that the timing on when these events happen will change. Like you mentioned, 3 seconds versus 6 seconds of engine, I guess, ramping up to speed. I wanted to say pre-ignition, but it's more getting up to speed. And this is a
There comes the ship.
fantastic view, yeah.
There's the light truck that is usually used to light up things. It's just a truck with a bunch of lights installed on it, and gives them an ability to just see during these rollouts at night.
Exactly.
It's menacingly close at this point.
Especially because my favorite fact about the SPMTs, who's driving it? Is there someone sitting on top of that, just chugging along?
Yes. It's not sure if they sit on top of it. Sometimes they drive next to it. Usually you can see that person. It has that person has a control panel in the hand and just walks around and drives it. I think that's a person on the right there. That we see right now that looks up to it. That could be the SPMT driver.
That's one of my favorite things, just like they've done with Crew Dragon. It's reduce the amount of physical switches and things and do as much as you can on tablets or, similar devices. And the fact that, here's the person just taking their booster for a walk.
Yes. I think they
The ship
lowered
for
the
a walk.
SPMTs. I think we just saw the SPMTs being lowered. So maybe they're
Yeah.
waiting there for a bit.
Maybe just double check something before they hit the highway.
Yeah, it could be. Also, a great moment here with all the lights. Perfect placement. Thank you, Sheriff.
Oh, I love it. Yes, with the flashing lights and then the light truck. Yes. This is a very illuminating view here. I'm learning so much. And no one's
Sorry,
gonna-
who did you thank for the placement? The sheriff?
Yeah, because they are have the lights right in front of the camera. Because now we
But who-
always see lights.
But who put the camera there?
Yeah, but that was sarcastic. I was not happy about the lights on stream, Jack. And also, hi, Jack.
Yes, Jack Beyer coming to us from the field. How's it going, Jack? And now he doesn't want to talk.
Yeah, he's doing his Jack thing where he doesn't want to talk now.
So,
And robot.
I'm setting things up. I just put them on first.
That would be why he's not talking with the robotic voice there. We'll get back to you, Jack. We promise.
It's also because I saw a question about these horizontal rings on the TPS. Because we see it here right now perfectly. That's because these TPS were usually placed at a later date. So they have different colors because they're different times when they were exposed. You can see it sometimes I think on ship 30 right now, that's the same situation, where they still have the welds open, so they can access certain areas on the ship, and they close these later. And that's why they look different, because if you place them at a different time, it's like they age they start to age at a different date.
Yeah, but still structurally sound.
Yeah, it's just color. It's nothing else.
There you go.
Yeah, fine.
But by the way, while Jack is in here, I do want to point out we have a comment from 98 Central here that says, I tried ordering my staircase today. The 555 ship now number isn't working. With all the sad faces and laughing faces. For those who don't get the reference, that is in the most recent Starbase update, which came out today, and it is absolutely hysterical. So shout out to Ryan and Jack for that great segment in it. So after the roll, if you haven't seen it yet, definitely check out the Starbase update to see basically kind of how we got to where we are right now. And also trying to order stairs.
If the number doesn't work, dial harder.
It's like if you're bad at Mario Kart, you press the acceleration button harder, so your kart goes faster. It totally works.
It's how it worked on my N64. Well, my friend's N64, but yeah. Boy, continuing along here, I do want to thank some people who've been very generous with their support as we keep an eye on Ship 25 here. Coco Cats, thank you for gifting a Red Team membership. We Will Rocket You, thank you for gifting a Red Team membership. And Super Steph, there's a name we hear and we love, especially gifting 20 Red Team memberships. Holy smokes, thank you. Really appreciate that. Wow. And again, if you got one of those gifted memberships, definitely please make sure you give Super Steph a super thanks. Let's see. TechRan saying, so road closures happen with no warning now? And kind of like we were talking about earlier, we have seen it before where it may not be a full roadblock, but we've kind of seen what this appears to be is like a rolling roadblock, correct? Kind of where it goes, the roadblock isn't a full, everything's already closed for the whole time, you can't get super near right away, but kind of, hey, the cops are going to come through and clear you out ahead of time.
Yeah, sometimes they announce these as road delays, which is still a usual case. I think this might also be coming down here with the timing of Sunday following into Labor Day, because I doubt that the person who updates the website works on on these days. So it's just coming down maybe to the fact that the person that updates the website was not in office since Saturday.
Yeah, the whole U.S. federal holiday thing with Labor Day.
Yes.
And I do just want to bring it up while we're waiting for all of this to keep on rolling down the road here. We did actually get a question about Falcon 9 and
Did
booster
someone say
re-entry.
Falcon 9?
Yeah, Trevor, this one's for you. And I think you actually answered this during the Starlink stream last night as well, of how the engine's light on the Falcon 9 for re-entry, considering the fuel is on top of the tanks when descending to Earth.
Yeah, this is a really good question, and highlights a good point that when a vehicle is undergoing no acceleration and has no forces on it, right? The fuel is floating around the tank at random. So this could be either after the booster has shut down for the boost back burn, for the entry burn, or for the second stage in space. And the way that SpaceX handles this is they have these propellant settling thrusters. So if you look on the Falcon 9 boosters, on the two pods of RCS thrusters on either side of the booster, you'll see one that points down on each side. And there are also some on the second stage. And what they do is they just fire those thrusters quite briefly, which then slightly accelerates the vehicle. And those you can fire in an inertial reference frame because, they're just cold gas thrusters, so you just open a valve. And then that settles the propellant at the bottom of the tank. And then once the propellant is settled at the bottom of the tank, you could ignite the center engine. And the center engine is ignited first because, the geometry of the plumbing in Falcon 9 is so that the where it gets fuel is closest is at the very bottom for the center engine. And then from there, all of the propellant is very well settled, and you can ignite the other two engines for the entry burn.
And kind of along those lines, but bringing it back to Starship for a bit, there's a good question from Yantica asking, is this iteration of Ship 25 using cold gas or hot gas thrusters? And I love, again, with the booster, the fact that the vent valves that they have basically are also their thrusters. So you need to move a certain way, just vent the tank out of this vent or that vent, and it moves it along. But Adrian, what about Ship 25? Is that the same kind of system, or is it hot gas thrusters?
It was not changed, but I want to point out one single thing here, because that's the biggest advantage of one of the biggest advantages of hot staging, because this propellant settling that you have to do for igniting your second stage, hot staging kind of does for you, because you're still under the thrust of the booster, which means the propellants are well settled at the back of both vehicles, which means during the ignition you have no problems of making sure that propellant settlement is proper. So that's another advantage of this hot staging design, where you just don't have to worry about gas bubbles in your upper stage. So that's just
At
a
least for the
neat
first
little
burn.
trick. Yeah, for the first burn, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as for hot or cold gas thrusters, again, for once, let's say once it's in orbit, any idea on that?
To my knowledge, it's basically these vents that they're still using. They have not changed. They have not changed the design yet. And I'm still not sure what exactly is the path there. We have seen different. Oh, we have heard different things about where they want to go with these thrusters. I could see a situation where they maybe never go to like other designs and just use the vents here for if it works, right? Because you need these vents anyway during the T0 and countdown management. And it sounds like a very SpaceX way to handle this, where you're like, well, we have this part, why not use this part?
I mean, yeah, it's fewer parts that need to be manufactured, right? You just use what you have.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
add to that, right, we saw a bunch of testing of the hot thrusters in McGregor, and Elon has since said that, at least for now, those are canceled in favor of using the ullage gas that's already on ship for RCS control.
Yeah.
And a reminder that there are still other tests that go on at McGregor multiple times almost every single day, which you can watch 24/7 on our McGregor live feed. It's nsf.live/McGregor.
Looks like they're putting some signs on the SPMT. Like,
Huh.
there. You see what I mean, right? There.
Unless it's additional counterweight.
I mean, that's it's like that's a small plate. I doubt it's a counterweight, right?
I mean, yeah, it's not like the giant counterweights that you see
Oh,
behind where they were just placing them.
Sheriff rolling. So is this time now?
How'd you know his
This-
name that he was Sheriff rolling?
Oh my god.
Oh my. This seems like they're about to roll again.
Yeah,
I
they're
love
getting back
how
in the light car.
everybody is like 10 seconds very disappointed.
What, because of my joke, or just that it wasn't moving?
Both equally.
Thanks. All right, so yes, we should expect the roll to continue any moment now, as it's still kind of on the road right near the production site, about to head on its way out to the launch site right near the orbital launch mount in anticipation of a lift likely tomorrow morning or early afternoon. For those who are just
Like
joining us, a quick recap for you.
I think the SPMT driver just started to use that panel again. So there we can see him, by the way. The person with the orange box in front of him. That should be the SPMT driver.
And again, I know I said it earlier, and I've put it on some of our YouTube shorts and Instagram shorts, but it's literally taking your booster for a walk. I love it.
Yeah, it's such a small device he holds, and with that he controls a 50-meter high ship. At least in during
It's
this
orange.
time. And it's orange. It's actually an orange box. Not sponsored by Valve. And also we see the light truck just moving, which is a good sign.
Yes. But I will shout out to anyone who's a fan of anything Syracuse related, because they are the orange. So go orange. It's orange. Anyway, let's
Good.
get back to more of your questions here in regards to the role and the hopefully very soon upcoming second integrated flight test here.
Oh,
Yeah, which along those lines, I know this is going to kind of be speculation, but obviously we've had a lot of questions about it. Officer 728K
we are
asking,
rolling.
there we go, we have movement again. And as that
Oh,
rolls,
that means
what does that mean?
we might be able to peek below the ship here a bit and see raptors if we are very lucky. I'm sorry for interrupting there, but it's just
No, that's
the moment
fine.
it rolls, I scream.
Oh no, it's fine. I appreciate you jumping in, especially for something like that.
This is such a cool shot right now of seeing straight through the SPMTs.
Yeah, exactly. And kind of see the I almost said Merlin vacuum, the Raptor vacuum, and the Raptor sea level engines there. Those are
It's kind of crazy how the person standing next to it is not even like on the height of the ship. It's such a massive thing that just rolls down here. Also the things at the top went up again, and yeah.
And just confirming,
Yeah.
this is still the one that has the 3 vacuum, 3 sea level Raptors, correct?
That is correct. There are 3 full-size vacuum engines up there, thankfully not stubby ones like Max would want.
I
Such a bad opinion.
I've seen some cursed designs of stubby Raptors in the Discord, and yeah, it's too horrible to look at. But along those lines, we do have a question here from, oddly enough, Falcon Heavy, asking, in your opinion, which ship will have the 6 vacuum engines first? Because I believe that was the plan, was to fit in the 6 vacuum and the 3 sea level, correct? Trevor, I'll give that one to you.
Yeah, so Elon has been talking about for literally years at this point, eventually increasing the number of engines on ship to have the 3 sea level engines in the middle, and then surround that by 6 vacuum engines as opposed to the 3 that ships right now have. I personally think this is this is very distant in the future. We've seen parts of ships well into the S30s, and none of those seem to have hardware that would support 6 engines being mounted on the outside. So my guess is it would be around ship 40 or later, but that's a total guess, and I could be very, very wrong.
Is that a vacuum engine we see there?
It appears to kind of be from this angle. It's hard to tell, but
It's hard to see. It's really hard to see.
again, we did get a good view of the person holding the orange box, steering this a moment ago. You could see it in his hands as he turned, and now, amazingly, watch this giant machine start to turn.
Yep. It's turning to the left and then rolls out to the right. It's kind of like doing this maneuver all the time. And there's raptors. There you can see raptors.
Yeah, that's a lot clearer to see there. I don't think we can
Wow.
see which numbers, but yeah.
I love the water bottle. That one water bottle there.
In case Ship 25 gets thirsty and it doesn't have liquid oxygen or methane around.
Yeah, I'm sure it's for the ship.
Yeah, definitely not the people that are helping to operate it in the, I'm guessing hot and humid Texas weather. I'm sure Jack can confirm about the weather right now out there.
I'm not sure if he's there right now, but it's 30 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
85 Fahrenheit.
Yeah, I mean, the hardest thing to tell, though, is the humidity, but I heard a yes there from Jack.
There we go. Just that we can we can barely see some raptors sometimes, but here you can see Ship 25 on the stand, going past the camera. You can also see how it's secured. Like, you can see all of these chains and everything. They're really making sure that this all stays on the SPMTs. So that's quite impressive.
Yeah, it's not super often we get views this close to actually see the hardware of how it moves. I mean, obviously we try and get as close as we can to the boosters and the ships, but I mean, to get a kind of look at the inner workings of the SPMT, this is really cool.
Absolutely. Suddenly the light is just barely not in the angle where we can see the raptors properly. It's like can somebody lower that light truck? But you can see them sometimes. You can see like these curved shapes, and that's raptors.
Unbelievable. Yeah, it's a good idea for the kind of close-up scale, especially once we zoom out and take a look at the bigger picture of, all of this crazy work that goes in. And keep in mind, this is to hold, like we talked about, a multi-story tall ship here.
I want to point out, I'm not sure if we can do this, Kevin, but can we film the front of the ship as it appears? Because there should be new vents there.
We can also maybe get a nice look at the tiles as well on the thermal protection system there.
Yeah, it appears that they have installed, similar to what they did on the booster, where they now installed purge vents to make sure that they can purge the engine section and make sure that there's no residue fire. Yes, they now have vents there as well, which appear to have the same purpose. So that's an interesting fact. We just saw them there, so there we go. And that's the flyby of the PPS, and you can see most of them are pretty organized.
Yeah, it looks
a
almost like
raptor.
a few of the tiles were kind of a bit chipped a little bit. I guess that's not an issue for this flight, considering the goal isn't to recover it, correct? Trevor?
Yeah, so they will, assuming that ship makes it into the very close but technically sub-orbit, they will be attempting to re-entry the ship. However, they will not be attempting to recover it. So if the ship manages to make it through re-entry, it will just crash into the ocean, and then SpaceX will have teams that recover all of the large parts of the ship and make sure that everything is depressurized and safe and all sunk.
Yes. For the first integrated flight test, they had multiple ways, if needed, to make sure it's sunk and essentially becomes an artificial reef. But yeah, that's not the main goal of this. It would be nice for them to get some data, I'm sure, on the thermal tiles and how well they work, but the main thing is at least getting into space.
Even just making it to stage separation would be a huge win for SpaceX.
Yeah, test
Yeah.
out the hot fire system too.
I think this flight is all about booster. It's really this flight is more to validate booster, and ship 25 is just there along the ride. But I think if they reach stage sep, and yeah, I mean that's proving a lot already. Like if they get to stage sep and maybe even ignite the second stage, that's proving a lot of the concept. It's not proving re-entry yet, which is then probably the final big step, but it's already, I would say, a very big win for the Starship program if they get to that point.
If they reach stage separation with minimal pad damage, I think that's just about as much as you can ask for the second flight.
Yeah, it sounds
Yes.
like their main thing is to kind of go from what they learned on that first one of, okay, we saw a lot of damage to the pad with the giant crater there, but now we've got the steel plate, the deluge plate there, so that hopefully will fix that. The issue with the separation, now you've got the hot stage, so hopefully that'll fix that. So it sounds like it's basically from T-minus 6 seconds up to about T plus 2 minutes or so is really where they're trying to get the most of that data. Kind of along those lines, there is a question here from a Chris B saying, are you aware of any ongoing concerns regarding the FONDAG surrounding the deluge plate system? Trevor, what do you think?
Yeah, so following the two static fires, there seemed to be some cracking in the FONDAG around the deluge system. However, it seems like none of this was that large of a concern to SpaceX. They did some investigating, but to my knowledge, they haven't really done anything about it. So it's very possible that at some point they'll just, go fill in the small cracks, but they don't seem too worried about it.
And for those who are unaware, that's basically a brand name of some extra strong concrete that was added to the pad. They had it for the first integrated flight test, but now it seems that, at least from what we've seen of the static fire of the booster and the deluge tests, that it has a better chance of surviving this time.
I want to point out that everybody that is stuck behind this ship right now, I'm very sorry for you.
Oh my
Because
goodness.
this will take some time.
Yeah,
This,
and not every vehicle there is related to the roll, it seems like.
Yeah. They sometimes do small little breaks where they let basically cars overtake. It's a thing. But I'm not always and not regularly, but yeah. There we go. It's a giant upper stage just rolling down Highway 4. It will never stop looking ridiculous.
Sorry, boss, I was late to work today. I was stuck behind a vehicle that will eventually take us to Mars.
It's like best excuse ever.
Yeah, at the Cape, I've been stuck behind first stage, a wrapped second stage, an unwrapped second stage, fairing halves, encapsulated payloads, and those are cool and all, but this is a whole nother level. This is the whole ship all at once, and it's ginormous, as I think is the official term.
Yeah, it's very technical, but it's absolutely the right term. And just, I mean, it always sounds so ridiculous, but the booster alone is as big as like a Falcon 9. So this is like 2/3 of a Falcon 9, and this is just the upper stage.
Yeah. You hear me at loss for words. It's still hard to wrap your head around that.
5/7 of a Falcon 9 in height, and like what, 3 times wider, a little bit under 3 times the diameter?
About 3 times the diameter
Yeah.
of Falcon 9, yeah. And as mentioned in the back channel here, and I gotta say it because Space Shuttle, the ship is apparently bigger than an orbiter even, than the Space Shuttle orbiters. Anyway, we have had some massive support coming in as well while we were waiting for Ship 25 to start rolling again, so I do want to take a second here and thank some people. Ryan, thank you for gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Daniel, thank you for gifting a Red Team membership. RC Horseman, thank you for gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Jeff Rowe, thank you for gifting a Red Team membership. Look at this. Again, Super Steph. I mean, I keep saying super, but it's true, with another 20 gifted Red Team memberships. Holy smokes, thank you. And Moldy Space coming in as well with 5 gifted Red Team memberships. Thank you. And if you got one of those, again, please thank whoever you got it from. And then we also had Sven becoming a Padrat member, Zasby Royal becoming a Padrat member, and Neil Kelly, thank you for becoming a Capcom member. Reminder, Capcom and above gets access to the NSF Discord. We also have some other support here. The Harry channel, amazing coverage as always. Love from Alaska. Appreciate that love. And from all over the globe, from everyone, thank you. Holy smokes, the dust is kicking up there. Unbelievable. Rough Rider Show, Super Chat, Gary the Grackle Fan Club, always appreciated. Speaking of the Discord, make a living. Come on.
Sorry, Sawyer.
Lily Tomlin, Jane Fonda, Dolly Parton. You're missing out. That's all I'll say there. For those who just came back to the stream, or just getting back, just make sure people refresh if they kind of lost the stream there for a bit. Everything should be 5x5. Looks like I'm seeing a bunch of 5x5s again. There we
It's
go.
always the best thing about if YouTube has a hiccup and the stream goes down, you can always see in chat when it's back, because people are like, yeah, it's now time for 5x5s again.
Yeah,
Press
you see
the
the
button.
Fs when it's down and the 5x5s when it's back.
Yep.
But for those who were just missing, I was just explaining a joke to these youngins here who don't get the reference from I'd Rather Fly an X-Wing, who said, petition to have Dolly Parton's 9 to 5 be the official launch song for IFT2, because again, 925, 925.
Now I'm not sure how much age is between us, Sawyer. I have
Oh.
no idea.
I'm almost old. Okay, let's go with that. I saw
I'm
shuttle
oh,
IRL.
I'm also almost old. Just 2 years away from being old.
We're all younger than Jack.
That is true. Love you, Jack, and Kevin.
True.
But yeah, I'm about 6 months away, less than 6 months away now from being old.
Oh,
Anyway.
I also want to point out how cool this looks like right now with the dust being kicked up. Like that's not venting, that's dust, and it looks cool.
And again, it's also a kind of a great indicator of just how heavy and massive this thing actually is. How much the SPMT has to lift and carry for both the boosters and the ships that it's kicking up that large of a dust cloud. Almost as large as from the first integrated flight test. Anyway.
It's less concrete rich, I would say.
That is true. Still, rip Highway 4 at this rate. It kind of goes along a line with super chat we got here from John Dobker, who asked, "What's the difference between the setups for a booster and a ship in regards to the SPMTs? Obviously, the main difference would be counterweights, but is there anything else? Do they have to add length or anything like that?" Trevor, do we know that?
So the transport stand is also different, but to the SPMT configuration, I believe the primary difference is counterweights. Adrian, do you have a more definitive answer?
No, that's totally the main difference, because they really need to make sure that it's properly weighted down, because you don't want to have a tipping over booster. That's a 70-meter radius of where it could impact, and you don't want that. So yeah, that's the main difference. And also, this ship is really going fast.
Yeah. I love that shot on the right where you can see the high bays, mega bays, and just get a real good perspective in comparison to that building there of just how fast it's really going. Again, shout out to the Starbase Live team that's helping us run and roll these cameras and get these amazing shots to us. Big shout out to them behind the scenes here.
Also, shout out to the supernova that is present on the right side on the stream that just occasionally shows by.
Yeah, good idea. We also have one here from Plutonium239 asking, do you think Elon Musk will be at the second integrated flight test? I mean, he was in the mission control down at Starbase, based off of what I recall from the first integrated flight test. I would think he would do the same for the second, right, Trevor?
Yeah, absolutely. There's zero chance, in my opinion, that he is not there and not in the control room for the flight itself.
Yeah, and hang in there, chat. We see what's going on. So stick with us. We promise.
Wow, look at that. Like, this is really good shot to give perspective how fast the thing moves. And again, it's a pretty big object that moves this fast. You could be like, oh, this is so slow. But A, look at other rockets during rollout. And B, look at the size of Starship. Like, this is, for rockets, very fast to move during rollout.
It takes almost as long to roll out, let's say, Falcon Heavy from the horizontal integration facility up to the top at 39A, and that you're talking under a mile. You're not talking super far. Artemis, along with shuttle rollouts, you're talking 6, 7, 8 hours to go 2 miles. It's measured in gallons per mile, not miles per gallon.
Yeah, it's like, does anybody have the number at present? Like, how fast the SLS crawler is again?
I believe its top speed is a mile an hour, but typically it's around.
I believe it's 2
half
miles
an
an hour.
Yeah, but it's usually between half and 1, I think, for most of it.
And this is like what? Faster. Like, this is. I mean, if they do the pad, way to the pad in like an hour, probably around 3 to 4 miles per hour. What they had right.
Max just said in the back channel that for SLS, the crawler was moving at 0.7 miles per hour, and that they can go like roughly 1.2 miles per hour when there's nothing on top of them.
Yeah, which,
Yeah.
again, the reason he might know that is because of some potential upcoming awesome content to keep an eye out for. So, hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Or he's just a smart cookie.
Or both. And now I want a
Yeah.
cookie. Anyway. Let's see. Here's a question from Mr. Vapitis asking, could we see a flight termination system test or demonstration shortly after stage separation to appease the FAA? Now, I know they've done testing of the upgraded flight termination system, if I recall correctly. Weren't they doing that over... was that over at Massey's, Adrian?
Yes, they did a flight termination system test at Massey's, and just to start to tackle this question, I do not think so. Because detonating explosives should always just be a way of caution during flight, like basically a moment where you're like, I have to do this to make sure everything is safe still. I doubt the FAA wants them to make a mid-flight booster detonation, like after separation, just to validate the system. I cannot see that. I think like that you still create a situation where you have one object that apparently up until that point was controlled and blow it up into many different objects. So I feel like the FAA only would want that if they lost control of the booster, if it goes out of the corridor, if they're no longer in a way where they can properly control it. But I doubt they would do it just for testing.
Yeah,
Right,
and
there's
keep
actually-
in mind that the booster's mission is not over after, or the test is not over for the booster after stage separation. They will be attempting to re-enter the booster and perform a pseudo landing burn and I believe a pseudo boost back burn. So they want to get as much data out of the booster as they can.
Right, as you mentioned, we are expecting that boost back, and then hopefully a landing in the Gulf Coast, just kind of offshore from where it takes off as sort of a demonstration of that. But yeah, and also keep in mind, it's more paperwork if you activate the flight termination system than if you don't, because we want things to work on this. We want them to realize, okay, whatever fixes they made to the ship and booster actually worked, so that we don't have a repeat of the first integrated flight test. So that means actually more work with the FAA than if you just have a successful flight, which of course is what we're all hoping for.
You can see the vents here again. They seem less sophisticated than on the booster and more like more cutouts. But you can see them here again, the newly added vents, which are suspected to be for the engine section purge, similar to what we have seen on the booster, where they use that to make sure that there's no fire going on in your engine section, because apparently that's bad. So yeah, and also you can see how the ship QT system is hooked up to a pressurization system. So they basically pressurize the ship during transport. Just to point out some things I'm observing here right now.
No, it's good. Again, it's a fantastic camera angle that we're getting here of a nice close-up view, especially of kind of that bottom third, bottom quarter-ish of Ship 25 on its roll out to the launch site there.
So
Yep.
I've seen a few people ask in chat, by the way, why it is that SpaceX has had so many problems with leaks on Raptor. Because there are plenty of other rockets out there that don't need to have such drastic purging mechanisms for their engine sections. And I believe the best answer to that is Raptor is at incredibly high pressure, so even a very small leak will be amplified by it being at 300 bar or whatever in the main combustion chamber, and then probably closer to 1,000 bar upstream, which is, several times higher than other engines. So leaks are amplified by several times the amount. Plus, you have two pre-burners and a gas-gas interaction. So there's just lots of opportunities for the engine to leak.
And also keep in mind the fuel that we're using here. We're used to, hydrogen and oxygen or kerosene and liquid oxygen. This is methane. Methane is a gas that you have to literally, when it's on the pad, move it out of the way, and any excess typically gets burnt off, at least as we've seen on some other vehicles. So it can be very highly flammable if it's in large bubbles of it, for lack of a better way to describe it. So you don't want that in a tightly enclosed space right as you're about to fire up your second stage either, or the ship.
Yeah. Also, this is looking fantastic right now. I love these shots. This is absolutely insane to see right next to our cameras. Always cool, and this might be the last time we see Ship 25 this up close. Just to point it out.
Although I'm sure we'll get some really great photos from Jack and Sean in the field of Ship 25 sure, once it's stacked up there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We should also be able to get a view of the upgraded flight termination system boxes there, because I know they did that on the booster, and should get a decent view of it here as well on the ship.
Yeah, it's part of this, yeah.
There we go.
Quite insane to see. There we go. I think we're going now up.
Yes.
That's the...
There we go.
There should be boxes there. And that's where the...
There we go. Sorry, just got silent there for a moment, just watching the pan.
That's the FTS area. That should be the FTS area.
Yeah, you can kind of see the box there. So right now, though, those are not armed.
Yeah, they're for sure. This for sure not armed. What they will basically do is, at some point, there will be pins in this, and they will remove the pins to arm the system. Before that has happened, this system is not armed. They are not any explosive. There seems to be something dangling there from. I just use. Sorry, that's my brain just instantly moving to anything that moves. But something's dangling there, and yeah, the FTS cannot explode right now.
Yeah, I think there are multiple stages of arming FTS. There's the FTS pull pin, and then once those are pulled, there's the software side of things, and I believe there's another step to activating FTS, because you'll hear callouts, at least on Falcon 9, that like FTS has been saved, which is where in the middle of flight they can disarm the system, and I would imagine there's a similar system on Starship.
Yeah, there's also some maintenance work they do usually before arming the FTS, where they replace some frames and harnesses before fully arming it. So there's a long work flow before arming such a system, because in the end this is the crucial system that protects people against this rocket going to the wrong direction. So yeah. It's very important that it's properly checked out.
Exactly. Again, another great view here of those tiles there, the tough rock tiles. Here's actually a really good question, because we keep talking about the SPMT. Alan asking, what does SPMT stand for? The answer? It is a self-propelled modular transporter. Although self-propelled, there's a dude nearby basically with a box that helps steer it, but other than that, it's not like there's a driver sitting in a seat hitting the gas pedal, riding along with it. It's more riding alongside it.
Yeah, it's modular because they can be attached to each other. They can be modified based on the needs you have. For example, here are two. This is two SPMTs working together.
There you go. I just figured, because we keep talking about it, for those who may not know, figured that was just a good mention there of what we're actually talking about.
I also want to point out, because people in the back channel are starting to be fanboy of it, yes, the water bottle is still on the SPMTs.
Huh.
This is a water bottle transport with also a ship riding next to it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, for those who are unaware, earlier in the stream, we did see a nice close-up of the SPMT, and on top of a portion of it was a water bottle. So...
Yep.
Yeah, I guess they're now following the adventures of said water bottle.
Yep. And there it is. There's the water bottle.
For those wondering, the first time we see it on camera was at 10 and 25 seconds Central Time.
I love how sometimes, so that's an SPL thing where sometimes there's if an object is longer than 5 seconds on it, and also it's a very usual normal object, like for example a brick wall, chat has the tendency to become a bit, I'm not gonna say obsessed, but that's what I'm thinking about it. We had people pick their favorite bricks in a brick wall in SPL at one point. I just saying. So yeah, water bottles can trigger probably the same feeling.
And I need to point out, I saw from RRR in chat, I've rewound, and they are correct. There's also what appears to be either a Gatorade or Powerade bottle on the level underneath where the water bottle is.
I personally love how there's a cone on the SPMTs just to make sure you notice the full stat or the ship rolling down the road.
I think it's more so you don't rear end it, but yeah. As there's someone on a bicycle going by.
No, we are not doing a poll on what's your favorite SPMT wheel. Just want to point that out.
Oh my gosh. Let's get back to track.
Yes.
Speaking of on track, Matt with a great question here, and Trevor, I'll throw this one to you since I know we were just talking about Falcon 9 and its rollout at the Cape as well. Could SpaceX made a road or a sort of crawler track or rail line in between the production and the launch sites so we're not backing up all this traffic here on State Road 4?
Probably not. The area around the road is tons of wetland, and I suspect it would be very difficult for SpaceX to build more infrastructure. Even widening the road seems like it would be kind of a big problem. So I think, these rollouts aren't that big of a deal, especially when they're in the middle of the night. So I suspect SpaceX will just keep doing these middle of the night rollouts to reduce reduce the amount they affect people's lives.
Can they stop the middle of the night Starlinks though? That would be nice.
Yes,
I
please.
love the middle of the night Starlinks.
Wow, we found one person that likes the middle of the night Starlinks.
I mean, they're great for visuals, but you could also get the same night launch visuals at, say, 8:30, 9, 10, 11 p.m. as opposed to 3, 4 a.m. Stupid orbital mechanics.
So
Anyway.
I love when they first start to target the beginning of the window and then move it very close to the countdown by 4 hours or so.
Which, for those unaware, Friday, September 8th, 7:45 p.m., beginning of the window for the next Starlink launch at the Cape, out of Slick 40. Bring it back to Starbase for now. And we were kind of talking about the whole night launch, night portion thing. Besides the fact I now have the song Night Shift by the Commodore stuck in my head, we've got HEC here asking, any chance of a night lift? I know we've seen night lifts with Booster 9, but do you think we would see the same here with Ship 25? Adrian, I'll throw that one to you.
They usually need some time. So they need some time to get all of this ready. Which is like the shortest we have seen is like somewhere around the 6-hour-ish mark. I doubt that at that point they wouldn't just wait for light. I think the very likely scenario here, also for photo ops, because they like to make photos for this, is that they will do it in the morning to early evening time frame. I think that's where we'll see a full stack. However, I think the next 24 hours will not go over without a full stack.
So, Trevor, what do you think then about the potential for a night launch of Starship? Or do you think we're going to, kind of like for the first integrated flight test, aim for bright daylight where engineers can maybe get a little more visual data, both from the ground and if they bring back the WB-57 plane?
Yeah, so keep in mind that unlike for Starlink missions or ISS missions or all of those, this mission is not going to any specific orbit. So there's no physical launch reason of why they couldn't launch at night. Or so they can launch pretty much anytime they want. Because of that, SpaceX is going to choose the launch opportunity that A, gets them the most data, and B, generates the most public excitement. And that's going to be an early morning launch in US time, because that's also when weather is probably best. So I suspect it's going to be a while until we see a night launch of Starship, just because SpaceX will want to be able to get data both for re-entry in Hawaii during daytime if they make it that far, and for launch in the US. And also, I'll point out with this view right now, you can see a drone flying around.
I was gonna say I was gonna be the first one to point out a drone, not Ryan or Kevin in the back channel. But yes, that flashing light that you see kind of towards the top right of the ship is one of the SpaceX drones that appears. It doesn't seem to have its spotlight on at the moment, so it's not like it's looking at any system in particular it appears from that high up. But again, as we can see, it lowering down and getting what appears to be closer to the ship itself. That may change as they look for whatever they may need to be looking for there.
This feels more like a photo op for me right now than inspection, because I wonder what they would inspect at this point. So this might just be a photo op during rollout.
That could very well be, but again, it might be a little trickier at night, given the location currently of the light trucks. It covers most of it, but yeah.
We've seen footage like this from SpaceX before, though. Like in the video that they released of after the S-24B7 flight, at the very end there is a photo of 26, I believe, on the road, and it said like up next ship 26 or 25, sorry. So yeah, they've done photography with the drone before.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say
they also
Go
they
ahead.
like to they also tweet out usually these the rollouts are sometimes getting more attention than you would think. So I think we might see it, like SpaceX has started to tweet more and more about Starship. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a tweet in a bit or like in the morning saying like, hey, ship 25 rolled out for final launch preparations before launch.
Good point. As we've also seen with the deluge tests, with the static fire, those great drone views looking downward on the vehicle. Which, yeah, not as much for engineering purposes, but beauty shots, which, hey, I love them. I think we all love them. It's been a hot minute since we've taken a look at the people who are helping with their generous support here, and I do want to acknowledge them. We have Bitminer, thank you for becoming a Capcom member. Reminder, Capcom and above gets access to the NSF Discord. Tracy, the best Tracy, thank you for gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Lauren, thank you for gifting a Red Team membership as well. Edward Cox saying, thanks for being there. Thank you for being with us in chat and for the support. Very much appreciated. Let's see, Mocha Blatt saying, does the booster have a header tank? And if yes, where? Adrian, where's the header tank on this one?
They have are we calling them header tank? I'm right now blanking on the name, Trevor. But they have tanks like that.
They have one tank for liquid oxygen, which I believe is called a header tank. And then for CH4, the transfer tube, which is huge because the booster is so large, acts as a header tank, so they don't need a separate tank for that.
Yeah, but like they have one tank, one smaller tank that is also in there. So yes, I think we called it like the TMSL. I was just questioning myself there. Once you get uncertain, you stumble.
Yeah.
But yes, they have one.
On
And a
Falcon
big transfer
9,
tube.
the equivalent is called the fuel collector, and I think that's what was tripping you up.
Yes, exactly. That was because I was like, is it called fuel collector or Yeah, it's like, but yeah, Falcon 9 has the fuel collectors. But yeah, there you go. Yes, the answer is yes.
It helps having someone who knows Falcon 9 and someone who has Starship in their knowledge very well on the same stream for that then. Kenneth Cannon asking, is there a way to adopt a highway at Starbase? Those unaware, that's an American thing where you can sponsor a road to, I guess, help keep it maintained, which could really use that from what I'm hearing down at Starbase. But yeah, I don't know if NSF has considered adopting a highway yet.
I was about to ask what adopting a highway means, so thanks for educating me.
You're welcome. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of times you'll see local car dealerships do it, you'll see restaurant chains do it, and according to Jack, it's an actual thing. So, Jack, when are you adopting it in the name of bacon?
Would you adopt a highway that regularly is used to move 200-ton heavy objects? Like, that sounds... maintains heavy.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. That's the road I would want to sponsor. Oh, yeah, take a look at the ship as it rolls down this portion of Highway 4, sponsored by NSF or McDonald's or whatever. And Jack says, yes, he would. Jimmy J saying, I know this might be a little off topic, but wondering if there's any updates on the Dream Chaser launch. My understanding is they're still targeting next year for their space station flight. Derek asking, what other testing might we see after the stack? Now, I know there's been some questions kind of back and forth on this, but Trevor, what are we kind of thinking the tests might be that we'll see after the full stack?
Yeah, so I'm going to steal Adrian's answer from earlier. Because there are basically three paths that we could go on from this point forward. The first is that SpaceX will conduct a wet dress rehearsal like we saw them do with Booster 7 Ship 24, where they'll load everything onto the vehicle like it's a flight countdown and go through the entire launch sequence, ending at engine ignition, obviously not including engine ignition. The second is that they'll just conduct a cryogenic test, which is when they'll use liquid nitrogen to load onto the vehicle to make sure that all of the plumbing and everything is looking good for launch, but then that doesn't include a full countdown. And then the third is that they just go straight into launch sequences. My personal bet is that they'll go for a full stack cryo test to validate that the new ship QD and modifications that they made to the ship are working. And then they'll just go into flight attempts, because also, stealing this from Adrian earlier, you may as well just go into a launch countdown, because if something happens and you need to scrub, you can easily just turn it into a wet dress rehearsal, and that saves you from losing a bunch of commodities from a dedicated wet dress rehearsal.
And there you go. I don't think it's stealing answers so much as being inspired by. So
I also want to point out that a lot of times, for example, Trevor, Alex, and me have discussion about Starship. So sometimes the answer I say is an answer that came together from discussing with multiple people. So there you go.
You gave away the secret. We're supposed to pretend that we're all really, really smart on every single space topic ever.
Ah, damn. Yeah, sorry. I will now pretend again that that I know about every single rocket and the meters and the diameter and everything.
There we go. LSR saying, all this talk of rollout reminds me of the A380 that had to roll out all the giant parts through tiny villages on the way to the factory. Yeah, and again, pretty much all of the Airbus vehicles are built in all of these different areas across the European Union. You know, you've got France, Italy, all creating different parts, having to ship them all to Airbus, where they're then finally assembled into one big plane. And they have their own version kind of the Super Guppy as well to fly in some of those parts. Yeah, parts are also manufactured in the US and China, as Ryan's pointing out in the back channel. But also reminds me of when they had to roll Space Shuttle Endeavour down the streets of Los Angeles, where they were literally having to widen roads, remove traffic lights and things just to fit that to go through too. So all along, this is definitely a slightly easier role in comparison to those, but still, again, the road closures.
There's also another thing that I always think about this, because there is the situation with the Meyerwerft here in Germany, where they build a lot of AIDA ships, and they're not at the sea, so they basically do like multi-day transport from all the way from Papenburg in Germany down to the basically what were the I think it's the Ems, where they just go down the river, and it's like a giant cruise ship going down the river. It's quite insane as a transport.
It's amazing how they're able to transport all of the massive vehicles, including, as we're seeing here, Ship 25. Ed, thank you for your first NSF Super Chat. We very much appreciate that. William Foss, thank you for gifting a Red Team membership. And here's an interesting question from Quark Latinum, who says, would you pay $50 to boop the Starship? They should sell tickets. I've got a better idea. For that amount of money, you can get access to some of the coolest behind-the-scenes photos, images, things that are rarely seen in the public, and some that are exclusive, as becoming an L2 member. That is a member of the L2 forums, which now you can access at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. You could choose your amount of time to be a member, 2 months, 6 months, 12 months, or become a lifetime member and get full access to all of these, well, basically forever at this point. You get so many cool perks and bonuses and benefits, a lot of extra pictures, certain things early, cool diagrams, and a lot of the vehicles, because we're so smart on all of them, totally don't go through L2 to get some of these cool pictures and videos and things like that. So that is available. And a reminder, if you sign up for L2 through the shop, you must already have an NSF forum username, which is free to get. So you can join the NSF forum, get your username for free, and then if you so choose and want to go into these secret areas that are only for L2 members, that's available at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. That will be available to you. Again, you can have it forever, but one thing that is not forever is all of our IFT1 gear, patches, things like that. We are getting really excited here for the second integrated flight test, so everything must start getting ready to go here. So if you wanted anything from that first integrated flight test, maybe you realize you don't have a patch yet and you want to be collecting them all, you can get that in our orbital flight test, our first test section of the site there. And I can also kind of tease that there may be a big announcement coming potentially in the next 24 hours about gear that may go along with this. So now's your time to get it. Last chance items. Again, shop.nasaspaceflight.com. You can get all of this and more. How was that for smooth?
That was wow.
Everyone was freaking out in the back channel of like how good that was. Great job, Sawyer.
Thank you.
That segue was I'm impressed. I was just sitting here being like, wow, he's going to town with this.
Oh boy, yeah, I may be going to town, but Ship 25 is continuing its way towards the launch site. So let's get to some more of those questions.
He's not stopping.
Oh no, and the ship and the SPMT hasn't stopped for a while yet, so.
As soon as I said that sentence, I was like, yeah, I laid it out there for you. Which is...
Yeah. Oh boy. Now people are claiming that I like the 2 a.m. Starlinks in the back channel because I get my puns back. But hey, for ones like these, I get my groove back in terms of smooth transitions. So it's a good refresh. And I gotta ask this question because oh, look at that. Someone getting their L2 membership. Awesome. Enjoy the forums, because I find myself going back to them going, wait, how did I not see this? Or how did I not see that?
The forums are highly informative.
Informative, you mean?
Let's get to the question.
Yeah. The main question, because keep seeing this from so many people in chat. Hop, when do you think the launch will happen? We'll go around the horn here and see what you all think. Trevor, let's start with you. Hop?
Oh boy. I think like roughly 2 weeks, and I'm not just saying that for the meme. I just feel like next week is probably a little bit too soon. They'll have quite a bit of work to do, and we'll see what testing they want to do once they have a full stack. But in 2 to 3 weeks, I think they'll be very close to a launch campaign, if not in one.
Adrian, what about you?
Yes, I'm totally on board with that. I think I actually would go even more specific. I say on the 18th they will start launch attempts.
That's
I think after
exactly
a weekend
kind of what I was
preparation.
thinking.
Yeah, like a weekend preparation around the 16th and 17th, and then on the 18th we will see a launch attempt. That's my prediction.
I'm gonna go ahead and hope that they're planning to be clever and do it on the 25th, because then it would be September 25th, which is 9/25, Booster 9 and Ship 25. So that's what I'm thinking. And in terms of readiness, though, I mean, we're getting pretty darn close here. We'll see the full stack, hopefully, within the next 12 to 24 hours, which will be exciting to finally get to see that. I apologize for laughing there. And then, it's just little things like maybe a wet dress rehearsal or a cryo test, whatever they end up doing, and then destack, arm the FTS, and go. So I'm still going to say that it'll be before the end of the month, and that the 25th would be a fun date to target. It may not be 420, but it's still pretty darn good.
True.
Here's a question from Native to Alaska who asks, is there any reason why Ship 25 won't attempt a propulsive landing? Because like we talked about the booster, if it's just like the first integrated flight test, they have in a boost back burn and then a burn to kind of splash it down off the coast of the Gulf there. Why wouldn't they do that for Ship 25? Trevor, what do you think?
That is a very good question that I don't know if we have a great answer for.
It's more speculation because I don't think they've ever officially said.
Yeah, my gut feeling is that they would probably need to get some permits from FAA, FCC, whatever government agency it is, to attempt igniting an engine over Hawaii, or I guess off the coast of Hawaii. And maybe that's just not something that they care about doing yet, since they would lose the vehicle anyway. And since they had already tested that portion of flight with the hops with SN15 and the earlier prototypes. So that's my guess.
Yeah, I think that kind of makes sense. And also the fact that their main goal right now is basically, let's test, like we were talking about earlier. It seems like the booster is the main thing that they want to focus on in this flight. A, will it not destroy the pad, especially with the new Stage 0 additions, extra cladding, and of course the steel deluge plate now. And then you've got the hot staging, so basically making sure the separation works. And again, the concept of, all right, fine, if it gets to that point, let's see what we have in terms of the booster being able to come back. So the booster being, it seems like, the main focus of these flights to begin with, and later on it will shift to the ship. But right now it's, all right, let's see, will it make it into space, into its planned suborbital path? And then at that point, if the tiles work, great, and if not, you get data either way. That's what it appears to be, at least. So kind of along those lines, I keep seeing this question pop up a few times, and Officer 728K asking it in chat. When do you think we'll actually see an attempt on the catch of the booster? I think it still may be a ways away, but Adrian, what do you think?
Gonna say 2024. I think it will not be on the third flight. I think it might be on the fourth or fifth flight, though. So I think so. If this is just very much speculation, but if we think about like around November, maybe for flight 3, and we are probably talking about like February, March-ish for 4, and then maybe like June for 5. So yeah, I'm gonna say between March and June next year. There we go.
And personally, I think it's going to be a little closer to the end of next year. I mean, I can absolutely see them going ahead and trying a catch or a test or something related to it happening right around some point in the year. I don't know if it's going to be mid-year, end of the year, but I think a lot of that, again, is also dependent upon what happens, what we're hoping this month on the second integrated flight test. And if they can progress onward from, okay, we made it to stage separation and got a rough idea of how that boost back is going to go, now let's see what we would have to do with it to actually get it to land back in the same spot and, again, hopefully within the chopsticks.
Yeah, I think what is underestimated here is how fast they could scale this up once they figure out the pad, because the vehicle cadence probably can support a flight like once every 2 months. So once they don't have to repair the whole orbital launch pad after every flight, I mean, they could fly every 2 months. They could. I don't think it's even that unrealistic to see them fly every 2 months from there on. So yeah, it's a thing where I'm like, where I think we might see a similar situation that we had with the high altitude flights, where they just suddenly were coming like in a very short succession. So we'll see how that develops.
Yeah, and along those lines, a different Adrian is asking, why don't they just test the booster alone first? Honestly, I don't think that they would gather much data from that, given that how well everything flies is based off of the full stack, right, Trevor?
Yeah, I think the only real data that they could learn, or that could be that useful for them from that, would be igniting and firing all 33 engines. And I think at that point they would rather just get the data from a full stack, and if they happen to make it to stage separation and make it through and get through stage separation, then they get to test the second stage of the vehicle as well.
Exactly, yeah, it's A, gets you an idea of how the whole vehicle works, and B, as you mentioned, you can then go on to bonus objectives that you might miss if, let's say, everything went perfectly with just the booster. Especially now that, again, we've got that hot stage ring, I think it's very important to be able to test the hot stage ring in action, which you would need the ship for.
Yeah, I think basically they would go down to a flip chart and be like, okay, we need a mass simulator. What's the easiest mass simulator we can get? And then they look at like the 4 ships that stand in a rocket garden and be like, yeah, okay, let's just use a ship.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem like 20 is going to be the one that they roll out next.
Yeah, like, I'm more saying, like, they would need to construct a mass simulator anyway, and they have perfectly fine like, Ship 25 is a perfectly fine mass simulator. Although I want to point out before somebody corrects me on that, technically it's not a mass simulator because humanity does not have the ability yet to simulate mass. It's a payload simulator.
Yeah, it's a sort of substitute item that is of similar mass.
Yeah, even on the in-flight abort test of Crew Dragon on Falcon 9, SpaceX knew that they weren't going to need the second stage at all, since the abort was happening during like a little bit after max Q, which is during first stage burn. And even in that situation, they basically used a complete Falcon second stage. I think the engine was just, or the engine bell and maybe a bit of the engine was a mass simulator.
We have a traffic jam on there because apparently the ship has stopped.
That's a good point. Yeah, you can kind of see the lights of the other vehicles going around, and yet it's staying still at the moment. I know we had talked earlier that maybe they might be letting some cars through at some point during it, or the cops finally caught up to it and now it's being pulled over with a speeding ticket.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
From what we're hearing from the field, it appears as if the SPMT has shut its engines down.
Oh. Huh.
So, just something to note there. That they obviously are stopping. It appears to look at something. Just not exactly clear what. Again, we don't have any official word on why they would stop, but we have confirmation from the field that it has stopped and the engines appear to be off on the SPMT.
I was about to say, thanks you clarified the engines are off on the SPMT, because the engines on the ship are very much off.
I would hope, yeah.
It's not Raptor-assisted rollout.
Oh, but that would be cool, though.
Yeah, just a short hop from the rocket garden over to the launch pad.
Yeah, that, I'd watch that. It's almost like the people that are proposing those hover taxis that'll fly you to somewhere within a city just by, again, flying over traffic.
Yeah, but yeah, again, we don't know why they stopped. They may just, like, check something out. Maybe something on the road is uneven. They need to fix that. And maybe that's why they stopped there and turned off the engines. We just don't know. At this point, we will have to see when they will start rolling again.
And you're not able to see this watching here, but in the back channel, I keep referring to from the field, Jack Beyer has now changed his name to The Field in our back channel. So anytime we get info, it's not from Jack, it's from The Field.
Wow. It's one of these nights, right?
Yeah, The Field, are you there? See if he responds.
I hope the field is. I hope the field is doing good.
Yes, same. Maybe we'll get reports from Jack again soon. Anyway. Now's a good time to hit a couple super chats here while we have a moment, while things are literally stopped. Hill Street Blues. I'm sure you know what that is, Adrian, right? The reference there?
I
Exactly.
don't get it.
It was a great show. Anyway, Hill Street Blues says, adopting a highway just obligates you to pick up trash every 3 months. All right. Go hang out with rockets every 3 months and do better for the environment? Why not? C-Code, thank you for gifting a Red Team membership. D0M ? Thank you for becoming a Padrat member. And that's both a question on the pronunciation and it's also in their name. DepMed Unit, thank you for upgrading to Capcom. Again, reminder, Capcom up above, Discord access, it's awesome. There's cooking channels in there, there's channels for all the different space agencies and different countries, and some very interesting KSP designs that I've seen in there.
The moldy space industries.
Yeah, especially. Black Hawk New Zealand, thank you for gifting 5 Red Team memberships. And then DepMed also, in addition to upgrading, gifting a Red Team membership. Thank you very much. A store message here from Anonymous saying, you guys have helped me through more than you know. Love you guys for real. Well, thank you. We try our best to be both entertainment, information, and a distraction sometimes because we all need to just ignore the world occasionally and go, ooh, look at the cool rocket. And grabbing one of those first integrated flight test patches. Love it.
Wait. We only supposed to do that occasionally?
I guess.
I'm like always like, oh, look at these cool rockets.
I mean, yeah, but there are times where it's more important than others to just go, yeah, let's go super nerdy into it. Elijah also getting an item from the store saying, great coverage, thanks for it. Which, reminder, by the way, I forgot to mention earlier, you can add a message if you get something at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. Getting another patch there as well. Brian, I wonder what he got with the thing here that says more patches.
I think a patch.
That's a good question. Bob, also from the store, saying, can't get enough of this. And, well, that's why we have 24/7 cameras and joining L2. Fantastic. Thank you for joining. And, again, really, really cool. Here's a good question from Josh saying, how many total miles does Ship 25 have on its odometer right now? Might affect resale value. It hasn't done that much traveling, honestly, right? I mean, it's been to, what, Massey's and back, and now out to the pad? Hasn't done much more than that,
Well, it was
right?
out at the pad before for static fire, and then
Oh, yeah,
some
the
testing
suborbital
at
pad, right?
Massey's. Yeah, suborbital pad. So technically 0 because all of that was done using the SPMTs.
True. Hopefully the odometer goes up once we get to stage separation and actually see the 3 vacuum and 3 sea level Raptors fire. And our back channel has dissolved into chaos as someone else has now changed their name to SPMT, who says confirmed I am stopped.
Yep.
Along those lines, we were talking earlier about the traffic. A-Train Games with the super chat here saying, though they can't widen the whole road, would a rest stop along the way to clear the road traffic be possible? I guess maybe like a sort of cutout, or as people from New Jersey, especially central and southern Jersey, know, a sort of jug handle turn, which we call that because it literally looks like the handle of a jug or a mug or a teacup or whatever your drinking vessel of choice is that has a handle that would maybe be able to let you go around it while it stops for a moment. I don't know. I mean, I guess that's a potential. And yeah, to anyone who's not from New Jersey or hasn't experienced a jug handle, fair warning, it is one of, in my opinion, the dumbest inventions in that it literally means you have to turn right to turn left.
Right? Okay, I'm looking this up now.
Yes, you make a right turn, go around the jug handle, and then go straight, rather than just making a left turn from the left lane.
Are we talking about roundabouts?
No. This is something
Okay.
called a jug handle. Do a quick Google search on it, and you'll
How is
be
this
just
better?
as confused. It's not.
This
At
looks so
least
bad.
someone who's lived in New Jersey for quite a while, it's not.
Okay, I want to
This
point out.
looks so bad.
Yeah, my personal gaming addiction in October will be the City Skylines 2. So I'm not a traffic expert, but I pretend to be one. And this looks bad. It's like, what? Why?
Especially the number of people that then make the wrong turn, you know, they go past it, thinking they have to be in the left lane, and oh no, you have to cut across 3-4 lanes to get into the right lane to be able to make the jug handle turn to then go straight.
There are 3 different types, and they're all somehow worse than the last.
Yeah,
I think Sawyer, you just broke my brain. I'm seeing pictures of this, and I'm like, wow.
it's not smart, in my personal opinion. It's also a state where it's illegal to pump your own gas, so. Or petrol, I guess, depending on where you're from. But yeah, just a small tangent there that I had to bring up as someone who lived in New Jersey for quite a while and had to deal with this kind of dumb design. Anyway, we'll get back to Starship items here, as it appears Ship 25 continues its sort of holding pattern here. We are getting word, apparently, though, that there is work still happening out at the orbital launch mount there, and we kind of see a lift, it appears, working on the chopsticks.
Yep.
Adrian, Trevor, any thoughts on what you're seeing here?
I mean, it's probably just the inspections in the head of lift, right? They will probably get ready to lift his ship very soon, and it's a good thing to check. We touched this on the last Starbase updates, but they did some work on the chopsticks. There were some new hardware installed. There were also some verifications, probably tests where they moved them a bit. So yeah, they're probably doing a bit more checkouts before lifting a ship with it. And again, we expect this lift to happen. I can still say tomorrow, because technically it's not the day yet in Boca. And there we go. There's the lift, and lift looks I think that's around the stabilizers they're looking at right now, but it appears to be go down. So yeah. Also, you can really well see the stabilizers here because the stabilizers have these lights, and they're both on. So it seems like two fairy lights there. Hello?
Hello, did we lose Sawyer?
I'm not
Oh
sure.
yeah, it helps
I
when
will-
you're not muted. There. But what I was originally talking to myself about, apparently, was those really giant bright lights. It's a great indicator of where those are. I'm guessing that's out there for inspection. And it appears, though, with all of it, that the chopsticks and everything else, that looks like it's already in the ready to accept and lift the ship position, if I'm not mistaken there.
Yeah, and just to point that out, because these lights are always on at night at the stabilizers. It's cool to see them right now. We talk about them. It's not a sign of like an imminent lift. It's just something cool I wanted to point out because they look cool.
Yeah. It is possible, it seems like, because I'm seeing a bunch of people now asking with that, could they move straight into lift operations? Could they?
Yes.
Probably. Likelihood? Not very likely.
I mean, define lift operations, I would say. So,
They mean it actually moving up.
okay, then no. The process of hooking something between the chopsticks, making sure it's completely aligned, everything's good to go, is taking several hours. What we are talking about when we mean it's happening tomorrow means they will probably do a checkout period of about 6-ish, maybe a bit more hours, then lift it. That's probably what we expected here. They did it before. Booster 9 was lifted, I think, about 6 hours after rollout. So that's the range we're expecting here. But yes, they can totally lift tomorrow. It's not even that unusual for them to lift tomorrow. Usually they will lift the day after rollout. So it wouldn't be out of the ordinary to expect a lift tomorrow. The question is just when.
Yeah, that's, again, if I had to guess, I would think it would be late morning, early afternoon, but it's SpaceX, so you just basically have to be prepared at all times. Here's an interesting question from the man, the myth, the legend. First off, great name. Second, for testing purposes, and I'll put this one to you, Trevor, since you and I cover a lot of the Starlink launches, do you think SpaceX will use Starship for a few Starlink missions as kind of test flights?
Absolutely. I think they will use Starship for the full-size V2 satellites as soon as humanly possible. So I wouldn't even be surprised if on the next Starship flight, if Ship 25 and Booster 9 perform pretty well, if they load a few on in hopes that they could deploy them. Because SpaceX really wants to get testing the full-size V2 satellites and start deploying them into their constellation, and for those, they need Starship. So as soon as they humanly can, I think they will.
But at the same time, we've also seen a lot of the ships have their payload bays, payload deployment areas kind of welded up. So I don't know if maybe they're planning that for slightly further down the line, a couple more test flights down, but again, like we were talking about quote-unquote mass simulators, that's a good way to do it.
Yeah, so Ship 25 had its payload bay doors welded shut, as did 27 and 26. However, I believe 27 got scrapped and 26 is thought that it won't be flying. And so far, 28 has not had its payload bay door welded shut.
So you're saying there's a chance.
That is a reference I get, for once.
Woo! But yeah, so that is something that we're definitely going to be keeping an eye out for, too. Let's see. I think we may be getting an update from the field.
The name has always changed. Like, this name has permanently changed now for me. It has completely. Yeah, but yeah, go on with the update.
From what we're hearing from the field, who is out in the jack, a golf cart appears to have arrived from the production site and dropped off a person at the SPMT. What that person's role is not entirely clear. Whether they're a mechanic, whether they're a specialist, whether it's Joe Schmo who got there late to work, whatever it may be. But that is the latest update from the field out in the jack. I mean, Jack out in the field.
And I also want to point out that right now in the member Discord, we have the field, SPMT, and Mechazilla having a conversation.
In which channel?
Party chat. There was. I'm watching the chaos unfold.
Who is Mecha?
Shout outs to the people in party chat.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
Yep.
Asking why the SPMT is honking again. Oh my gosh, this is yeah. It's the fun that we have in the NSF Discord. All right. I do want to hit a few more items of support here just to get back on track a little bit. Methane Man, a name we see quite often, with the $20 super chat. No message, but still greatly appreciated. Happy Cappy asking, do they forget to bring their ID to get through the gate? I would hope not. Go ahead.
At least that's not the area where the border checkpoint is. That would be funny.
That's true. Yeah. See what the passport is for the SPMT and for the ship. Passport will be from space ... soon. And then its arrival in Hawaii. Josh speculating that Ship 25 stopped for required coffee / bacon break. Potential. Ninja Decimator, thank you for gifting a Red Team membership. This is a really interesting infrastructure question that is still related. William Foss asking... Wait, who said ooh to that one?
I?
Then this one's for you. Asking, will the increased damage to the roadways from all the cranes, heavy trucks, SPMTs, etc. from SpaceX on that road, will SpaceX be footing the bill for road repairs? Because, Adrian, you experienced State Road 4 out there, and quite bumpy from my understanding.
Yeah, it's a good question who pays for that. I know that SpaceX in the past, and like especially Elon Musk, has made some donations to the Brownsville area, and like infrastructure projects, but I'm not sure if that's for Highway 4, because I believe technically it's still it's still not more the public's job to repair that road, not SpaceX. However, whoever does it, let's just say there's a lot of more work to do, at least the last time I was there. It's a very bumpy road. It's very damaged, not only in the area where they regularly transport ships and boosters, but also in the area before that, because you of course have a lot of employees driving down that road every single day, and that road has some significant damage on some parts. So I'm not sure who's paying for the repair for it, but as I was there in April, there were ongoing repairs right after the construction side, the production side. Basically, if you drive from the production side to Brownsville, there was ongoing road repairs, and I believe I wouldn't be surprised if there's some other repairs going on right now at different places, where they just basically once they finished at one place, they start at another. So yeah, not sure, but good question. Who pays for that? I'm honestly not sure.
I'll just add, if you want to learn more about a lot of how concrete wears and whatnot, a friend of NSF's, he's actually used some footage from us and worked with us a little bit. Grady from Practical Engineering has a fantastic channel that you should check out.
And a really
Also,
nice guy, too.
Yeah.
Update from the field that a group of 5 or 6 people are examining the SPMT.
Yeah, taking a closer look at that. As we, again, on the right, you can kind of see Ship 25 stationary there. On the left, you can see them working on the chopsticks, which will hopefully sooner than later be lifting Ship 25.
Did they, like, okay, I'm gonna address the elephant in the room here. Did the SPMT break down?
It's potential. I
mean-
should point out where they were working on the chopsticks first. I do want to mention that the lift isn't there anymore, but it does kind of seem like it broke down, potentially.
What
mean,
happens if the SPMT breaks down in the middle of the road with a ship on it?
I mean, they have to repair it. Like, there's no other way to move this ship besides removing the old SPMT and putting below a new one. Like, they cannot do anything else. They cannot lift it with a crane. The crane attachment points are gone.
But would
Also,
that
Someone
be
in
an
chat
issue?
says, "Get out and push."
But would that be an
Yes.
issue then for balance of if you have to remove one of the SPMTs and add another?
Yeah. I think the realistic answer is they need to repair them. If they break down. I want to clarify. This is just us speculating because this SPMT stopped in the middle of the road during rollout. Which is, I think it's a fair speculation. It's just nothing we have confirmed at this point. We're just
Right.
waiting to see what happens.
Right, as Bob Smith pointed out, they could have just happened to stop right where the new porta potties are.
No, they're more down the road. The new porta potties are in front of the orbital tank farm.
Yeah, worth a try there. And someone asking if AAA would offer roadside assistance for these. For those not aware, overseas, AAA is a service that you can become a member, and then if your car breaks down, or you get a flat tire, or whatever the case may be, they'll come out and help you out along the road.
Oh, about these porta potties, by the way, I have a story to tell. So, my grandmother recently watched the stream, and my grandmother doesn't speak English. So, I got the question the other day, why did we move a camera so close to some porta potties next to the road? So, thanks for that I had to answer that question. That's the absolute delight.
And also, I'm being told for those overseas, it's called, I don't know if you say it AA or AA, but it's the US. We have to one-up people overseas, so we have AAA instead.
In Canada, is it AAAA?
Hey!
That's just batteries for you. Double A's.
Yeah, apparently it's, I'm being told by NASA Spaceflight official, Chris Bergen, that it's AA. So, shout out to the Chris Bergen. I know he doesn't get shouted out on stream as often. Want to make sure he gets that love.
We have the field and the Chris Bergen now.
And the SPMT. Oh no, it's just SPMT right at the moment.
Yeah,
Yes,
right
you
now-
got a shout out.
Also, I want to point out right now it's neither safe propellant nor a transporter. It's still modular, but it's just an M.
Yeah, apparently it's CAA in Canada, according to Dr. Holly, because AAA is the American Automobile Association, so I guess that would be the Canadian Automobile Association. A. Multi-Mutant Gamer, thank you for becoming a Red Team member. And William getting a whole bunch of items here at shop.nasaspaceflight.com with the comments, Adopt a Highway NSF Edition, you Wrangler volunteers from us viewers, and we all come clean. I mean, I'll join you. Let's see, getting NSF shirt, good call. Oh, Raptor Wrangler shirts. These are some good calls. We'll see what the other items are as well as they click through there. A Falcon Heavy shirt, nice. And there you go, that first orbital flight test one. A reminder, they're about to be on their way out of the shop very, very soon. So if you wanted one, now is the time. Especially since if you want to start building up your collections for all of the test flights, this is your way to get everything. Get all of the shirts, the patches, mugs, etc. Before anything else might happen to come up soon. Like, soon.
Very soon. We say while the ship is stuck on an SPMT in the middle of the road.
Okay, maybe less soon then, but yeah.
That's soon is delayed by just a few minutes.
Oh, and that's the one I forgot to mention is we also had those larger gaming mouse pads that was just on screen there too. Thank you, Kevin. For those of you that there's the gaming mouse pads, there's the larger gaming mouse pads. We know a bunch of you asked for that as well. Those are really great at shop.nasaspaceflight.com too. And again, we've got the one there, as you can see, with that Starship orbital flight test. And this is a reminder of all the different items that we have, including one of my favorites that we got recently, the Starbase Retro. I love the Try Again, which hopefully we'll do at some point this month. Suborbital, orbital, moon, Mars is our eventual goals here. And the fact that we sent the field into a field to get a wide shot of the actual kind of skyline of Starbase so that it's as accurate as possible. And love that 80s video game feel to it. I mean, huge shout out to the shop team. They always do amazing work. These have been some of my favorite recently.
Shoutouts to Pauline especially, who does the designs. And does amazing doing them.
Absolutely.
Also, I want to point out that if you think we have it, like, watching a ship right now being stuck in the middle of the road, imagine being Jack. Jack is one of the cars being stuck behind this right now. So,
Oh my
there you
goodness
go.
gracious. So the field is stationary now.
Yeah, the field is very stationary. It's grounded.
Oh boy. Yeah, as we were talking about earlier, I did mention when I asked about how long the roll is expected to take, I noted that it may go a little bit faster or a little bit slower. I did not expect this much slower, and I don't believe any of us did for that matter.
Okay, I want to point out something here, and I want to start with this, that was overheard, like an overheard rumor conversation that is going around there, but we got reports from the field, and this time the field and not the field, that apparently SpaceX is trying to get a part to the SPMT, which indicates that apparently an SPMT has some sort of issue, maybe. Again, this is just hearsay, this is just something going around there, but apparently the one of the SPMTs might need a part here before they can continue that rollout.
Yes, and a huge shout out to Sean, who's on the ground as well, in addition to Jack, aka the field, working some sources to try and get us this information. So, huge shout out to Sean, too, for keeping his ear open. Again, even if at the moment it's hearsay and it's unofficial, it's still more than we had to go off of than a few moments ago. So, appreciate that. And Sean also does some fantastic photography, too. I'm sure any of our NSF members can attest to that.
Yeah, and again, it's the maximum we would get. Like, nobody at SpaceX would ever confirm that the SPMT right now is broken. So, hearing it from people trying to get the part is basically the most we can get. So, don't expect any more confirmation for this or anything. This is just where we are. But yeah, we have apparently a ship stuck in the middle of the road.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of, take a look at one of these metal prints. I believe that one is also from Sean with the sort of astrophotography angle, too. I know a lot of people I saw were asking for shots, you know, that kind of show other space-related things, and I think this is just beautiful. The beaches there along Boca Chica and Starbase in that area, so a great shot.
I love how you say it shows other space-related things, like space.
Ha 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 ha.
I'm sorry. You're not the only one here that can go for stupid jokes.
Minus a pun token, then. Everyone, pun tokens in chat to take them away from Adrian.
I love that we still have that emoji now. It's really amazing.
It has become one of my favorites, for obvious reasons for me.
Oh, really? I never expected that.
Well, all of a sudden, you know, we joked about having an emoji with it, and then I get something from Chris G of like, oh yeah, they're in the works. Like, no way. And then
Chris B, I
Pauline,
wanna
as you
clarify.
mentioned, yes. And then Pauline, as you mentioned, with her amazing work, all of a sudden it's like, oh, here's a pun token. Like, oh, you're giving me one for the stream? No, here's the pun token, emoji that people can use now in chat and Discord. So, yeah.
There we go.
Beautiful shot of the moon. And while we were talking about the metal prints, I guess this would be a question for you, Adrian. Someone asking if there would be a metal print of Max's shot last evening of the Falcon 9 transiting in front of said moon.
I know we had some. So we had some shot by Julia, I think, that we tried for that. The problem is always there's also like resolution requirements, DPI requirements, and if they're not fully met, we tend to not upload it because we want to make sure that every metal print looks good. So we always try to update the metal prints based on shots we have and resolutions that is available. But sometimes, especially with these shots where you zoom in into the moon to get a pass by, that means you zoom in. Zooming in means you lose resolution because as you zoom in, you basically crop out a part of the picture, and that means it tends to maybe not make the requirements needed for a metal print because they need a high resolution. Otherwise, they don't look as crisp on your wall.
Yes, we want to get you the best products possible, that's for sure. Although, again, Falcon Nebula shot.
Yeah, we're sometimes they're on the border, and then we test them, just to give you like some insight how we operate here regarding our metal prints in store, because we want to make sure that if you order them, they look good. So that's why we do it that way. We do it.
Yeah,
and
as we sit here and literally just wait for this thing to move, it's a nice kind of insight here.
Yeah, we rather delay a shot that we think might be good and test it than put it up there and have a quality that we don't like. And it's not something that is in the quality of the photograph, it's just a resolution thing. It's nothing about the picture quality. It's more of there is a resolution requirement.
Cool, so mine'll be up to... No, I'm kidding. By the way, I do just want to point out this pun because I saw it and thought it was brilliant and wish I thought of it. Skull Kid saying, you need to give Jack an award for being outstanding in the field. Yes, I even put that on screen. I will give up pun tokens for that. I believe it's worth it.
I mean, we're not tracking them right now.
I'm sure someone has a spreadsheet somewhere that's tracking it because NSF loves its spreadsheets.
True. But if it's neither Alex or me, the chances that somebody has a spreadsheet quickly becomes very low. I think we are like the spreadsheet keepers of NSF sometimes.
Yeah, I think you can also tell some of us getting slightly delusional here as we get later on into the night than we expected with this. Remember last time the 4-hour lift stream?
4 hours?
Please,
It was
no.
7.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. What if we go for that same amount here for a roll?
Negative. I have an appointment in 3 hours.
Yeah, I feel like at this point I can roll faster than them.
Was anybody of us here, Trevor? Were you both on for the very long lift stream?
Yeah, I think it was Sawyer and I for the entire 7 hours, and then Ian joined a little bit later.
Oh yeah, and also Kevin, the operator here
Yes.
behind the scenes,
Yeah.
was also on.
The same person operating tonight.
You have some insane deja vu here going on.
You know how you have
Yeah.
Chaos Crew? We're Deja Vu Squad.
Why am I now? I'm not sure if I wanted to be part of the squad. Like, why am I here?
I think that's a more existential question. But anyway. Let's see. I've been seeing this question a bunch, so I'll address it now. D0M asking, how much longer do you think it will be until the first Starship test/launch will happen at the Cape? I know this is all speculation at the moment as we wait for this to move as well, but let's go around the horn and see what everyone thinks. Trevor, what do you think?
So I think a lot of that will depend on the condition of the pad after this next launch. I think if the pad is in good shape and they like this design, then they'll start producing something similar for the Cape and resume building up there. However, if this launch doesn't go very well, then it could be a significant delay. So I think we're probably still around 2 years out from a launch from the Cape.
Adrian, what do you think?
I'm gonna say late 2025, early 2026.
So here's my thought on the whole thing. Having been out at 39A multiple times this year, it appears as if there has been minimal to no work whatsoever on the Starship stuff that's out at the pad already. So it doesn't seem like they're making any major changes yet, even after the first integrated flight test. So I'm wondering if they're waiting to see what the final successful configuration will be, and then make adjustments out there of whatever capacity they need from what they've learned to help protect the stuff at 39A. Obviously, there's already preparations ongoing for it, in the fact that they have the crew tower that we will hopefully see out very soon at Space Launch Complex 40. More on that in the most recent Cape flyover. Plug. But they're obviously preparing to be able to focus some things on 39A there, and just in case something were to happen with Starship, have the backup. So my thought is that
SPMT lights turned on again.
Oh, that's a good sign. Thank you for interrupting with that.
Go ahead. Go finish your answer then now.
No, thank you for interrupting. That's important. But yeah, I think it's probably going to be after Artemis 2, but before Artemis 3. So if I had to guess, I would probably say late 25, early 26.
Okay, just to clarify, apparently these lights have been going on and off more, like, from time to time. So that was just my copium there. that I hoped that it would start rolling, and they're off again.
Yeah.
Cool shot
I
there.
wonder if
on the
they're
left.
maybe trying to, do some Morse code in terms of flashing lights to say bacon. Maybe that.
It's like when you're having like an old, almost broken down car, which you turn on again, like it turns on the light, you hear the engine stuttering, and then it goes off again. You just have to do it over and over again until it turns on.
Or then you realize it's broken and you go to fix it.
Yes.
Or, yeah, keep working on the hot rod, or, bring it to a shop if it's your mom's minivan.
Sounds oddly specific a bit, but yeah.
I could say this has actually not happened to me. So.
Okay.
Also, I was the one who owned the minivan, not my mom. Hi, Mom, by the way, if you're watching. Let's hit some super chats here, because there's one that has been here for a while, and I apologize to Josh Schloten, saying, were the red, green, and blue LED lights on the tower destroyed during the first integrated flight test? I think we've still seen some of the colored lights flashing inside the tower there. Am I not mistaken? Either Trevor or Adrian?
Go ahead.
I believe we have seen them, but I do not know for sure.
Yeah, it feels like we've seen them.
We have there are lights, and we've seen them, but as Alex pointed out a few days ago on the stream, and it's not something I paid super close attention to, because we have other indicators that are just as good to see what the pad clear status is. So it's like, yeah, but there's like a million indicators you can pay attention to at the launch site, and sometimes you just lose track of some of them because there's so many to track.
Yeah, it just flashed in and out of your mind like that?
Yes.
Like the flashing
Yeah,
lights.
yeah. I got it, Trevor. Sorry, Trevor. Sawyer.
Next, you're gonna start calling me the field. Jeez.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm confusing people. I'm starting to lose my mind here.
Woodworker Don here with an extremely important question while all this is going on. Chat needs to know, is the water bottle okay?
We don't know, I think, because there's right now no camera that can show us the water bottle. But
I hope the water
I
bottle
hope
didn't cause the issues.
Yeah, the water bottle fell into the engine. I don't know. No, it's probably okay. Probably right now very much unused because now they have to wait. Like the personnel has now wait there for this problem to be fixed. And I feel like at this point, I feel very confident to call this actually an SPMT breakdown fix. Like this is
Yeah.
obviously not them waiting for traffic to pass. This has to be some sort of problem during rollout.
Yeah, it's definitely an unplanned hold.
Yes.
Full Whip asking, does it look like Ship 25 is leaning slightly to the right? The gap between its lower region is bigger on one side than the other. It's possible, but that may also just be a camera effect based off of where our cameras are located and where the ship is at the moment. So it could just potentially be camera trickery.
Also, don't
Unless either
forget
of you
the highway is also not super even. So it might be actually the case, but the center of mass is super low on this right now with these counterweights. So it can probably take some angle.
Yeah. Also, I'm being told to ask the field about the water bottle and how far along they are on the highway. I don't know if the field will provide us any of that, or if they're even able to. Let's see. Drunar saying, now that it isn't moving on the road, does this count as a rocket jam? Very nice. Spicy Pineapples. This is a great message. Supporting the dad jokes. You leave him alone. He's a good man. I'll take it.
No.
Yes. Let's see. This is an interesting one as well from Juan saying, will NSF ever receive invitation from SpaceX for an interview, maybe with Elon? Our emails are always open, Elon. You can reach out to us even as a DM on X. Send it to @NASASpaceflight if you want to. We'll definitely be there. And which team member would you send? Thank you for the hard work. Tank Watchers. Nice. I'm sure there's plenty that would be willing to volunteer to do it. I'll say that.
Yeah. I think I think that would be the case. And I'm staring at this SPMT. Like the lights are on again, which is not an indicator, it's just me looking at the lights. So there's that. I wish they would turn off the light truck, but that wouldn't help the problem.
Yeah, no, that just would make it worse for us to see what's going on even.
Oh look, Starships, like probably in a few years destination.
There you go, yeah, which, by the way, I guess while we have the moon up, have we seen any more work going on with the article that we've seen HLS labels on?
I do not believe so.
Yeah.
But we at least have seen vehicle or parts that were labeled as HLS, correct?
Yeah, there
that's
was
correct.
a nose cone that had like a weird human-sized door on it that had some parts on it that were labeled HLS. However, I have not seen anything about those since that nose cone was moved.
Right, and I believe that's a shout out to Jack and I believe Sean as well, catching that out in the field there too. There's some great, for people that are members or were gifted a membership, I believe if you go back there are some great shots of some of that too. Let's see.
Somebody posted the tweet of Chris B on the membership Discord. It looked like it's like just a sentence. The SPMT has broken down, and it's just like it's such a perfect like short sentence on the tweet. It's certainly a peak. It's a special moment here. That's like in a weird way we have seen a lot in Starbase. We have never seen this before.
There you go. You're a part of history, everyone watching.
Yeah.
Has it not broken down before with a ship on board?
No, I'm 100% sure there was never in a situation where the ship got stuck on a highway with a broken SPMT. That's never happened before.
And the question is, does anyone with ESP know when the SPMT is going to move to the OLM?
I am far too tired to process
Oh.
that.
Thank you, Jack. Sorry, the field.
The whole field booed at you.
Worth it. I'm okay with it.
That was one of those sentences where, like, I heard each individual part, but I have no idea what the whole sentence means.
Yeah, it's like there's no connection between these words. It's just
Yeah.
words.
ESP is basically being able to see in the future. And then SPMT, we've already talked about that. And then to the OLM, rolling it out to the launch site.
A lot of references go over Adrian and I's head.
Yeah,
True.
I'm glad when Trevor is always on because I feel like he's as educated as me about like movies and pop culture.
Yeah, I mean, you may have ESP, but I have ESPN too.
We
Can you
really
tell we're-
need to move.
Oh.
Can you tell we're tired here and that this has gone a little bit longer than we had planned? So for
Yeah,
those who are
remember-
just... Go ahead.
Remember when we said, "Oh, it's gonna be like a 1 hour rollout. It's gonna be quick." Yeah,
That
good
was-
times.
That was what, a little over 2 hours ago?
Yeah, we had 2 hours 15 live now.
And it moved, I think, about 5-10 minutes into the stream. So yeah, a little over 2 hours. For those who are just joining us, as of right now, it appears, and we've overheard rumors that the SPMT has had some type of part that needs to be delivered to it. It appears as if it has kind of broken down on its roll. Everything appeared to be going pretty smoothly. I believe it was around 9:40-ish Central Time that we saw first movement. They did pause for a little bit before heading onto the road, and now at this point, as mentioned, it's been stopped, and it's been stopped for quite a while. We've seen a person being dropped off in a golf cart. You've seen the lights been going on and off on the SPMT. And yeah, again, as we've overheard as a not official that there appears to be a problem, a part that needs to be delivered to help get the SPMT up and running again.
I'm just looking at like the VOD and looking at the exact moment where it stopped, and like I don't see anything other than it just stopping. I tried to find like anything interesting and be like, hey, I found something cool. No, it just rolled out. It looked like it just was like it became slower and slower, and then it just stopped. So, yeah.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
did see a bunch of comments. They saw that we were doing commentary, and so they decided to stop just to get a laugh out of us.
Like, how long will NSF stay alive if we just park it here?
I mean, there was at one point, I believe it was that marathon live stream, where we literally did a commentary pause, and we're like, we'll be back when it starts moving again.
Yep. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah, but for now, we're with you still. Still taking your questions. Tag us at NASASpaceflight if you have them, and we'll do our best to answer as much as we can.
Alan C in chat, one of our mods, with a good point that we'll be live forever because of Starbase Live, our 24/7 live stream.
Oh, that's a strong one.
I mean, it's a great other bookmark to have if you don't already. If you're already watching on YouTube, you can get to it from our channel. Otherwise, it's nsf.live/Starbase. In fact, you can just go to nsf.live and see all of our 24/7 live streams that are available and click on whichever one you want.
There's the moon.
Moon.
We are getting update from the field here, saying they're working on the right SPMT's power pack. There you go.
That
seems
could
to be
also
right.
explain.
Which one is the right, though?
It's the one on the right side.
That could be, I guess, an indication, as we've seen with the lights flickering on and off. Kind of corresponds with that of them working on getting the power up and running, basically.
So it seems like they're working on it. I also like it's so funny how the quality of comments in the back channel and everything in our comments completely goes downhill since about 40 minutes. I want to quote Kevin Michael Reed here saying in the back channel, at least they're not working on the wrong one. Like, yes.
Haha! +1 pun token. I'll give it to you. Let's see. I guess we should go for some actual Starship questions in the meantime. Which Chris B pointing out, if it was pulled by horses, then it would be at the launch site by now. Talk about horsepower.
Wow.
Let's see here. This is an interesting question while things are apparently broken down. Xbar asking this earlier. I'm sorry it's taken a while to finally get to it. Can the salt air and the rust affect Starship, especially with it being so humid and being right along the Gulf of Mexico, which again is saltwater based, so you get that rough salt air that if anyone has lived near a beach or has somewhere where there's a lot of snow and they apply a lot of road salt, you know what it can do to metal. So what do you think in terms of everything that's out there having to deal with taking a beating from the Gulf? Trevor, what
Okay.
do you think?
First of all, this is a Taylor reference, and I absolutely love it. Second of all, to actually answer the question, yeah, there is a large effect on the ships, and the boosters as well. You'll see that they go to the launch site looking really new and really shiny, and then they'll start to look less new and less shiny.
Yeah, and we've also seen this with some of the walls and other items around, especially the orbital launch site. In some of the streams, you can see that these things that were pure metal are now very rusty. So it's already doing damage to parts after only, what, 3-4 years? So it's definitely something to keep in mind. And, I mean, SpaceX, it's not like this is a new thing they're dealing with. They have 39A and 40, both of which are right along the Atlantic Ocean, that do get that wind whipping and bringing that salt to it. So they're aware of it. I'm sure they have some mitigation techniques and have a little bit of experience with it. Interesting question from Danny Hamilton here asking, is there a local towing company that can handle rockets? First off, it's a joke, but second off, who ends up actually doing the movement?
SpaceX. This is done by SpaceX. The SPMT is owned by SpaceX.
Adrian, I think your microphone may have swapped for a moment.
Yeah.
Here.
Hello? Am I
Now
back?
we hear you, yes.
Hello! I'm not sure what that was. We are getting into the funky territory of the stream where everything breaks. Yes, the SPMTs are operated by SpaceX. This is not like a company that comes out to perform these rollouts. And I'm very sure at this point this is completely handled by SpaceX in-house. There's probably not a... I cannot imagine that there's like an external company handling this. So yes, this is SpaceX.
And along those lines, I think it's also interesting just the design of how all of these work with the SPMT system. I mean, over at the Cape, they literally just said, hey, you're not using these shuttle transporters anymore, right? Do you mind if we take them and modify them a little bit so that we can carry Falcon 9 boosters back from the port and over to the refurbishment facility at Hangar X or wherever else? I mean, this is... I don't believe SpaceX repurposed these in particular, have they?
I don't think so. And also, I have to point out, I think that the transporters for Falcon 9 are from the shuttle is like Chris B's favorite fact ever, so good job bringing that up.
You know you're talking to the other shuttle geek of NSF right now.
That's true. Chris in the back channel, thank you in all caps. Yeah, I'm actually not sure what SPMTs are like used for outside of transporting ships. Like, obviously moving other large machinery, but I haven't really seen them outside of this application.
Yeah. Doesn't appear as if we have movement yet, but again, we're seeing the lights continue to go on and off, so that's a good sign.
Wanna have some things that SPMTs are used for?
Yeah.
For example, ships. Ship sections are sometimes moved by SPMTs. That's one thing. Also, I think I recall like a reactor part of a nuclear reactor part also was moved by SPMT once. At least I saw that. So, and also sometimes parts of, for example, wind turbines, depending on where you are and if there's accessible for a semi. But SPMTs are used in basically everything that needs heavy transport in terrain where maybe you don't want to use the semi.
Yeah, it's good to point out it's not a space-specific purpose, but these are SpaceX's responsibility, basically. They're the ones that will do all the maintenance on it. They're the ones that have the trained operators that can actually roll it and move it. Let's see. Let's take a couple more questions here. We got a few things to support that I do want to hit really quick while I keep an eye out for more questions here. Kevin, I don't believe it's our Kevin, at least Kevin running the stream, getting a couple items here saying, Tank Watcher since the beginning, shared your live stream with thousands of students over the years. Thanks for all of those whom you've helped to inspire. Those are some of my favorite messages, honestly. The fact that people are sharing this with students, with the next generation, and explaining to them, hey, here's what's going on. I've used to work with teaching STEAM and STEM topics to children for years with the Challenger Centers for Space Science Education. And it's the most rewarding thing to see their eyes light up when they actually... we have Jack's camera at the moment. We have field camera.
Yeah, we have the field camera here. They are working on the right SPMT. And that's not, but yeah, we saw them working on the right SPMT there, as they are getting. It looked like a lot of people around that. I'm always worried if it's a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a lot of people looking at it. That's not great.
Also, the bottle is gone.
No, I guess we'll have to check for the Gatorade Powerade bottle later. But yeah, no, like I was saying, I love when people are able to share this with the next generation, especially since a lot of these people, as they grow up and go to school, if they're still interested in aerospace, there's a good chance this is the type of vehicle that they'll be working on. That they're the ones that can then go, hey, you know what? I want to work at Starbase. I want to work on Starship. I want to work on Falcon, and actually be able to do it. So just wanted to continue to acknowledge that, and thank you for sharing it with students.
Unless you're not from the United States, then you're restricted because of ITAR.
Thanks for ruining the moment.
No problem.
Then Martin getting a couple items from the store with a comment. Thanks for the great streams. Thank you for watching, and thanks for getting those items from shop.nasaspaceflight.com. Got stickers there. Got the Orbital Flight Test 1 patches. Buck Rogers. No Bucks, no Buck Rogers, as they say. Pointing out the latest Hawaii Not Mars show alternate dates 9/9 to 9/15. And local Not Mar, District 14, week 35/23. Which, yeah, all of those are public info out there. So that's why we're under the assumption that it's going to be a very similar flight profile. And keep in mind, they can upgrade or change the dates on it just as easily, cancel all of those and push it a week or two, or stick within those dates.
Until the FAA wraps up the investigation report into Flight 1, everything else kinda doesn't matter. It's they need to wrap up the report. Until that is done, they will not issue a flight license for Flight 2, and until then, Starship will not fly again. They can try to schedule these notices to be ready and try to push it, but there's two things right now. A, Starship is not completely hardware ready. They have a few more steps. And B, the FAA report needs to be done. Until then, Starship cannot fly.
Yeah. Ninja Decimator here, continuing on with the jokes from earlier of ESP. I said I have ESPN2. They said I've got ESPN8, the Ocho. Either of you get the reference?
Absolutely not.
Nope.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
Nope.
It's from the movie
Nope.
Dodgeball.
No.
Nope.
Never heard
Never
of
even
it.
heard of that movie.
Yeah.
Wait, neither of you have heard of the movie Dodgeball?
Yeah, never heard about. Like, that's the first time I heard that there's a movie about dodgeball.
I see we've got one person in the back channel at least that acknowledges it, but yeah, how? Please watch. It's hysterical.
I'm sorry.
It's one of those like great movies, like, you know, comedy-wise, along with Anchorman and things like that.
I've also never seen Anchorman.
Yeah, I've
You at
never
least
even
heard
heard
of
of
it.
Anchorman.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm Ron Burgundy?
I know him from some memes.
It's more than I can say.
It's not the same. There we go. We've got our view from the field at least to kind of calm me down for a moment. This again coming from Jack in the field, or the field in Jack in this case. Yeah, they are definitely working on that right SPMT there.
I think there's a hatch open there.
Yeah, that happens to be the one that had the water bottle on it from the appearance.
Yeah, the water bottle SPMT. Yeah. And the other is the cone SPMT. So.
But yeah, no, this is one. Again, we watched them pause earlier to look at it before they rolled out, but it seemed like a normal pause. At this point, they're definitely working on something inside. It's a little hard to tell. Almost appears as if there's a toolbox in there. As more people continue to be brought in, it looks like, and moved around via golf carts.
Yeah. But it's cool to get this view. Like, shout out to Jack, because this is really cool to have as a view as we see them live working on this. Really giving us insight that they won't move any in a few minutes now. This looks like there's still some work to be done here, and they're still trying to fix this.
You've got a few people, it looks like, even on top of it as well. So you've got the guys that are looking towards the middle area, the people that are on the top, and it looks like they were just checking the bottom of Ship 25 there for a moment as well.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, you have to be at least aware of the fact that there's a giant ship you're transporting right now, and the SPMT also stabilizes it and everything. And of course, you also have depressurization hardware and everything. Like, that still needs to be ongoing while this is all happening. This is, I'm not saying this is dangerous. I'm just saying they need to be aware of these circumstances and make sure they're working to resolve them.
And it looks like the panel might be open on the other side as well, or is that just the... No, I think that's just the normal part of the SPMT there.
It seems like they're now working on the top of the right SPMT.
Yeah. And
So-
again, apologies if we get quiet for a moment. We're just like you, probably putting our eyes as close to the screen as possible to try to see what we can see here.
I for sure saw some part going on in there right now. 100%. They're still working on something there. But it's cool to see. Again, I think this is a really cool view we are getting right now. As you can see, it doesn't matter if you work on your Raptors a lot and TPS. In the end, you also need transport equipment that works, and that also can break down, and that's normal. And
It's not technically Stage 0, but it is ground support equipment, technically.
Yeah.
So for those who know rocket launches, a lot of times GSE can cause problems. And it may just be as simple as a valve gets stuck, or in this case, your SPMT breaks down while the ship is on top.
Yeah, it's probably a cool thing to fix right now, because they are, in a way, it's not your everyday SPMT you're fixing here. So.
I'm sure it's cool, but it's also probably stressful knowing that A, you have the giant vehicle that is about to be stacked on top of a booster and potentially go to space on top. And also, one wrong move, if your counterbalance gets off by too much, then you run the risk of causing damage.
Yep. It's I would imagine that the SPMT, once they lose power, they probably remain in the same configuration. So they basically go to a safe state. But we'll see. It's definitely an interesting scenario. Again, it's something totally new. We never had such a situation in Starbase so far. Where
I'd like
they
to point
had
out, it looks like they have someone, that's out there with a camera as well. I don't know if maybe they're sending it back to other team members that may not be on site to see if they can kind of troubleshoot, but just an interesting note there.
No, don't park there.
Well, we've got the golf cart-esque
Golf cart.
vehicle coming through as well.
To be fair, it only looks so small like a golf cart because everything else there is like a truck.
I mean, true, but that does appear to be kind of like an off-road type smaller vehicle.
True. But maybe that's just a SpaceX like social media or like media operator that just is like, yes, I have something else to document in this rollout.
I mean, we saw earlier that the drone was up in the air, but as we pointed out, it didn't really seem to be for inspection purposes so much as beauty shots. You know, for social media purposes, potentially.
Yeah, perfect. Reverse there. Perfect. That's wonderful. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
But yeah. Sorry, I'm like, sometimes I go quiet, but again, we are just looking as well what's happening there.
Yes, and it does appear as if the Gatorade Powerade bottle, by the way, is still there, despite the water bottle not being there.
So Gatorade wins against water in this case.
Yeah. And again, I think Jack's camera also gives a good view here, because I know there are questions about it looked like it was leaning, and it appears to be just the view from the angle from the camera, and the optics causing what may look like a lean, but it appears to be perfectly upright from what we can see from Jack's point of view, directly next to it.
I'm very disappointed in this truck right now.
Sorry, taking a drink. Get my throat a rest there for a second.
Let's hope that like is a part that just arrived or something.
I mean, yeah, it pulled away pretty quickly, so.
Yeah, thank you for that. Maybe now can see again.
Yeah, I mean, at least they also have the light trucks out there, which, as we pointed out, wasn't just so that we can see what's going on, it's so that they can keep an eye on everything that's going on, especially on the base of the SPMT, and now being used to help them inspect or troubleshoot whatever may be going on here, in addition to the headlamps that it appears a few of them are actually wearing as well.
I want to point out, if you ever ask yourself the question, how many person does it take to repair an SPMT? Apparently the answer is 8.
At least they don't have to replace a light bulb.
Yeah, it's like one person working and 7 others giving very detailed insight into that process right now.
Yeah. And again, a reminder, that camera on the left is handheld right now by Jack, so it's not like we can do a whole lot of zooming in or sound on it. It's a great view, I think, as is, because I know people are talking about the view. I think it's a fantastic view to give a broad idea of exactly what's going on here. So again, shout out to Jack out in the field.
Yeah, as of now, we are just waiting for this SPMT to turn on again. Hey, there's Jack's thumb. Hey, Jack.
Would you call that a thumbs up then?
Yeah, I mean, quite literally.
Yeah.
You can also see how some of the tiles on the TPS systems are a bit like I would not say misplaced, but they just have a different orientation. You can see it on the bright stripe in the middle, where some of them are just like a bit weird, and also at some point they camouflage the ship in the darkness.
Yeah, thank you for that tilt there, Jack. Again, he's not on commentary, but at least he can hear all the compliments, so passing those along to you. But yeah,
Yep.
and like we were talking about earlier, I think it's also interesting the fact that, it doesn't seem like re-entry is a super important goal of theirs at this exact moment, and that a lot of the focus seems to be on stage 0, so, the deluge plate, the upgraded concrete, that kind of stuff, the shorter pre-ignition time, the shorter ramp-up time for the engines to get to power, and then the hot stage separation mainly. Even for the first integrated flight test, it really felt like the ship re-entering was, if we get to that point, great. We'll get some data on the tiles, and that's all we really need for right now. Unless they were expecting the tiles to maybe not fully work. But yeah, it seems like the idea of checking that TPS isn't super high on their priority list at the moment.
But the people who always keep demanding that NSF should do longer marathon streams again, there you have it.
I mean,
There you have it.
As we get closer to flight, there may or may not be more of these dedicated update preparing for flight streams. But this is turning into one of those as opposed to, a standard 1 hour roll out to the pad. And I know I just saw this question pop up. Do they still have the crane attachment points on this? I don't think they do anymore.
No, that was one of the main purposes to roll it back. They can only lift this using chopsticks. So, yeah. More people are arriving, by the way.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it's very interesting to get that kind of vantage point here now from the wider out view of the ship, and then that tiny little light truck in the bottom left there, and the trucks that are continuing to bring all those people out to inspect the SPMT. It also gives a great view. You can see that rightmost generator on the SPMT in this shot of just how big everything is and how tiny the people are in comparison.
Yeah, it's really a good sense of scale that we are getting here right now. It's a cool view, and it's a good part about, well, sitting here watching them repair an SPMT.
Given the options, yes. Given the current situation.
I wanna quote a member, Captain Crutch from our membership Discord, who would win a multi-billion-dollar revolutionary space program, one spinny diesel boy. And I love it. I love the memes. I think this. I feel like Reddit will have a field day with this event.
Yeah, and while we were at that wider view, you may have noticed the red lights that popped on. Now you'll notice they are off again. That's what we've been kind of seeing almost for the last hour or so as they've been trying to troubleshoot this, of the lights on the SPMT going on and off again. So just an interesting note, if you see those lights going on, they tend to flicker off again. I don't know if they're just testing systems, if it's a short circuit, whatever the case may be, but we're seeing that just so you're aware as well of what's going on.
I see head scratching. I never like head scratching when people try to repair something.
No, but what I do like is support from some of our viewers, and so I do want to thank some people here. Christopher saying, thanks for doing this, guys. Thank you for watching. Josh with another super chat here saying, I guess I should have asked how many miles the SPMTs have on them. I think that was in terms of the mileage of the ship, but right now it's traveling a whopping 0 miles an hour. We can say that.
Yeah, right now the SLS transporter is faster.
Chazzy Mac saying, are SPMTs powered by Tesla or diesel powered? I don't think these are actual Tesla motors in them, correct?
No, they're also not built by SpaceX or Tesla. They're just bought by a company, and usually because of the energy density of diesel, it's advantageous to just use diesel here.
Yeah.
Battery tends to have to recharge, and this needs a lot of energy. Like, this is a prime example of something that needs a lot of energy to move.
Exactly. I mean, hey, the vehicle burns relatively clean with methane and liquid oxygen, so you You can deal with a little bit of diesel to get it out there.
Yep.
RC Horseman, thank you for gifting a Red Team membership. This is a good generic kind of question here while we're waiting for this. The hope is to be able to, if I see them pointing at things it looks like on the ship, just pointing that out there as well.
Maybe they're just having a conversation while they're waiting. Like this could be to me like they're just sitting there being like, yeah, did you see the TPS?
I don't know why I kind of doubt that, but
I don't know. It feels to me like having this casual conversation right now.
could be. But yeah, like I was saying, it's kind of a little bit of a generic, but still an important question, because this is rolling out to then be lifted on top of Booster 9. For those who don't know, we've got Billy here saying, love the show. How do they lift the ship onto the SPMT since they cover the crane lifting points with tiles? So how did it actually get on here?
So the SPMT can still drive under the ship and then lift it. So that's the other way to like technically lift it. The SPMTs lift it. You can kind of see it how it works. These SPMTs can lower and raise again. So it basically lowers, drives below the ship, raises, and then they connect it, and then they can drive away. So that's how it works.
Let's see. We have Ken P here using tips.nasaspaceflight.com to give a $20 tip. For those who are unaware, that's another way that you can help support NASA spaceflight. And what we do here, if you don't want to go through the super chat way, you can also do tips.nasaspaceflight.com, and we appreciate all of the support. Saying it was only a matter of time before this happened. SpaceX probably has a plan for the situations. I wouldn't be surprised if they would bring a crane and a backup SPMT to do a quick swap if all else fails. Well, I think one of the concerns is balance.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is you need to, if you want to replace this, you need to basically put the transport stand on the road. And I'm not sure if it's, like, level enough to have it on the road.
Right, and the crane points are covered, so they can't just have it hanging.
Yeah. I think their best chance is really to repair this SPMT. That's the best chance they have right now.
Yes. So again, thank you for the tip there. Let's see, Drunar saying they have an HPU issue. Maybe electric upgrade soon. I'm sure they're going to take a closer look at things once they finally get this out to the pad too, and make sure all of the rest of them are in tip-top shape.
Don't park there. No.
Keep going. Keep going.
Yes.
Keep
Perfect.
going.
That's good. No.
Don't do the jug handle.
Don't drive into the camera.
Don't hit Jack. Yeah.
Ooh. I mean, that's perspective, but that looked funky.
That looked quite dangerous. Here's an interesting question, and I do want to put this out to everyone here. This is a super chat again while we continue to wait. Multi-Mutant Gamer asking, where did your love of rockets come from? Who wants to go first with that?
Oh, go ahead, Tar.
This is a really interesting question. My love of rockets came from Falcon Heavy on the test flight. My teacher just happened to put it on, and I don't think I realized at the time how cool what I was seeing was, but I was just like super interested to learn what happened to the center booster. I thought the views of Starman were properly insane. The two, skyscrapers landing next to one another was insane. And basically from that moment, I instantly became hooked.
I don't know why that person was running so quickly. Adrian, how about you?
Well, a friend of mine, Marlo, shoutouts to you, recommended the Ashley Vance book, actually, so that's a funny one, about Elon Musk to me, because I like biographies, so I was reading that. And as I finished that book, that was coincidentally exactly at the timing where Falcon Heavy Demo Flight 1 was, So I was like, okay, I just read this book about Elon Musk and I learned about SpaceX, so why not watch the launch? And then I watched Falcon Heavy, as kind of Trevor as well, and yeah, I mean, I didn't understand it back then, but I was hooked. And from there on out, I watched I think I watched like 50 SpaceX launches in a row after that. So that's my story.
Mine's very different from both of yours. So I used to be a professional child actor back in the day. Fun fact. Commercials, jingles, voiceovers, float in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, songs in the background of songs that played during the Macy's 4th of July fireworks. I mean, it was like the legit stuff in New York City. Yeah, so I went to an acting camp in the Catskill Mountains of New York for a while. After what happened to me happened, and I ended up in a wheelchair, mountains were not the best place for wheelchairs, just putting that out there. So I ended up going right down the road. There was this place called the Challenger Center for Space Science Education. And I was like, yeah, I kind of like space stuff. Let's see what it's about. And I mean, the theme for that week was Mars and astrobiology. And it just blew my mind because at the exact same time was STS-118. For anyone who knows the significance of that mission, that had Barbara Morgan on board, who was Krista McAuliffe's backup on STS-51L Challenger. So this was her flight to become the first educator in space. And someone from our Challenger Center actually got to ask her a question in orbit. And I was so curious, watching the whole mission, watching the launch and everything. I was just like, what is happening here? So I just dug my nose into all the books that I could to learn about it and all the things I could Google at the time in 2007, 2006. And yeah, I joked that I became the camper that never left because I ended up working with the Challenger Centers for over 12 years. Helping to run those simulated space missions and teach kids about different space topics, 3D printing, Lego robotics, things along those lines. So that's what really got me into space. And I do want to point out I had the coolest thing happen to me. I believe it was about a month or 2 months ago. Challenger Centers, they post updates on things, and they had one of the people who was working on the Mars rovers. And I looked, I'm like, why does this person look familiar? It's because he was one of my campers when I was one of the instructors during summer camp. So one of the people that I taught years and years ago is now working on Mars rovers at JPL. So
That's cool.
The pride that I had there was just, I always said if I can just impact one person, and sure enough, it was at least one.
That's really, really cool.
It is really cool.
Should we recap what's happening?
Yeah, it's probably a good idea. Who wants to take that? Because I need to get a drink really quick to help my throat here, so I'll be back in about 1 to 2 minutes.
I will take that. So, we expected a nominal rollout of Ship 25 to the launch site to be stacked then on Booster 9 and be basically being prepared for the second flight of Starship. However, about halfway through the pad, it seems like the right SPMT here broke down, and Starship is now stranded on the middle of the road on Highway 4 as they are working to repair that SPMT, and until that is done, they cannot move the ship anymore. So yeah, we have right now a 50-meter tall Starship stuck on the middle of the road. That's, I think, the quick summary of where we are right now, and we are just waiting right now to see if they can turn on everything again, and we can see them moving again. We see one person here working on this right SPMT, which probably is about fixing said issue.
Yeah, as Max in our back channel said, the self-propelled modular transporter has become the stopped partaking in movement tonight.
Yeah, it's quite fitting. Yeah, and also you can hear us as on commentary constantly starting to lose more and more of our mind as we stare for at an SPMT on the road for hours. So that's always fun. It's these fun NSF streams where the commentators go wild. So yeah, that's the situation where we are right now, and as of now, we just hope they can resolve the issue. We heard earlier conversations. Sean heard them at the area that they might get a part for the SPMT to repair it. So that's the status where we are right now. They are probably trying to install that part now. And once that has happened, we hope that the action resumes here and they can complete the rollout to the pad as they are getting ready. Also, shoutouts to Jack, who just repositioned to get a better view here. This is a camera by Jack, who is in traffic jam right now, hinter the ship. Behind, sorry, my German. Behind the ship. Yeah, there you can just see Jack for a moment. And yeah, we are just watching. And answering your question. Yeah, sorry. I don't know why my German slipped in there.
You know it's getting late when your German starts coming out.
Yeah, it's like you say it's getting late. I see the sun. It's 7:30 here. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't expect this when we started the stream, but here we are. But I mean, that's quite cool. We never saw this before.
Yeah, so
I take this.
One question I've seen quite a bit in chat, like this one's from Andy Skiba, is if they will lift tonight or tomorrow in the morning when it starts getting light. And it's thought that right now, especially with these delays, there will not be a lift tonight, and SpaceX will probably attempt to lift shipped early tomorrow morning or early afternoon. Sorry, later tomorrow morning, early tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, I feel like with this now we are moving closer to noon-ish probably for a potential lift.
Yeah.
At least that feels to me like that.
And of course, whenever that lift is, we'll be there to bring it to you live with another dedicated stream.
Of course. But so far, we need another SPMT working here.
Yeah, you're not
Welcome back,
kidding.
Sawyer.
Thank you. Yeah, had to try and get a quick snack too, because again, no, I don't think any of us were expecting this to run coming up on 3 hours now.
Is there a traffic jam behind this ship? Like, I wonder if there's like a giant queue of traffic at this point behind the ship, or if they let people pass.
Or at this point, yeah, since it's not moving potentially, although it's not like you can pull over to the side of the road to let cars go by, given that you can't move anything at the moment.
Yeah, it's quite a funny situation, because this, like, as Kevin points out, actually, imagine being at the beach right now and just wanting to go home. Well, too bad.
Yeah, minor detail there.
Yeah, it's just a minor Starship on the road.
Christian pointing out, can't wait for the quote-unquote short lift stream.
Yeah, also
Please don't
want to point out,
joke
because
about
people
that.
pointing out that trucks went by, it seems that trucks that went by were like sheriff trucks or like direct workers involved in this. But I don't think they have like normal traffic pass yet.
Yeah, it appears to all be related to the move, or at least the repair.
Yeah, and also the beach is not closed. The beach is like, there was no road closure or like beach closure scheduled for this. They just wanted to make a quick move down the road, and well, it didn't work.
Here's an interesting thing from Ryan Bray, because we talked about earlier that there is pressurization to the ship itself, saying, I hope the SPMT issue isn't impacting pressurization for Starship. Again, why do they pressurize it for move? It's for structural integrity, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Just like with a can that you have in your kitchen, when it's pressurized and sealed, you know, it's very strong. You can stand on it. Then if you remove the lid off or open it, it can be squished very easily.
Yeah, I wonder where that gets its power from, if it's its own thing or if it gets it from the SPMT.
Yeah, I don't know.
I would imagine it's a closed cycle that is independent from the SPMT. I feel like that would be a horrible thing for redundancy if that would be in the same cycle as the SPMT. Also, technically, the left one is still working, so if it's powered by the SPMTs, it's probably still powered by the left one.
Yeah, that is a good point, and it's important to note that right now, there is just one of the SPMTs that isn't working, but you need both of them to actually move. Let's see what other questions we've got here while we continue to wait for them to wrap up whatever work they're doing on the SPMT itself. Interesting question from Lyle here. How far have they make it until it kind of stopped here? So how close are we to the pad? Are we, still about halfway-ish? There's a great view.
Very good. It would turn basically a bit more to the left and then make a kind of right turn and pass the suborbital side and then to the orbital side. So yeah, about halfway, a bit more maybe, but still not even close to be there.
Well, yeah. Goodness gracious. Well, as Bon Jovi said, whoa, we're halfway there. Whoa, give that ship some air.
Wow.
That's a reference.
I saw something approaching on the left side that looked a bit bigger. That's interesting.
And there's still a lot of trucks coming and going here.
Look on the left side. That's what is that?
With the flashing red lights?
Yeah.
It appears to be moving with what looks like sheriff's vehicles there. It may just be like you mentioned, another truck coming through with its hazard lights on.
Yeah, and like if Jack sees it, maybe give us a heads up what that is. But I see blue lights again from that area.
Yeah, it almost looks like it could be another SPMT just based off of the flashing lights, but it doesn't appear to be.
You would see. Look how the tires look on the main SPMTs. They have like dots of light on every single tire, and that's not the case here.
Yeah, there's some dots of light, but and again, a similar pattern. But as mentioned, it's flashing, not really.
Yeah.
Solid like we see.
But it could be some like transporter for some replacement part. If they, for example, replace the power pack.
That could look, yeah, that could potentially be a flatbed bringing a slightly larger piece. No Flux with an interesting question here. And we kind of talked about this earlier, but considering it's now going on 3 hours here, could they use trucks to just tow the thing? I don't think they would be able to just tow the SPMT with a ship on top, because I'm sure that would impact the balance in some way, shape, or form. And regardless, you want that second SPMT working so that it can, as the road bumps, lift or lower to keep everything level, right?
Yeah, you have like no multi-ax adjustment. You have not the auto leveling. It's even if you could, in theory, from a capability standpoint of like pure torque, even then, probably no. It's really these SPMTs are very specialized for transport of heavyweight object, and that's for a reason. And I do not think they can just easily tow it. That's just not the case. And we see again what they wanted to do here. They want to repair this SPMT at all costs, because that's the likely scenario how they fix this.
Right. And again, also, as I pointed out, people are saying in the chat that, yeah, you must have that ability to keep the vehicle level on the way out.
Yeah. Because this is a tall thing. So once it starts like swinging into one direction and you don't have the ability to level it or counter that movement anymore, it just swings into that direction and you have a Starship tipping over. Which, fun fact, would be the second time a Starship tips over in Boca Chica.
Oh?
I mean, we had SN9 tipping over in the high bay.
Yeah. I thought you meant on a roll. I'm like, no, that's never happened. You mean the high bay, yeah.
Yep, it tipped over in the high bay.
Okay. Let's see. Continuing to keep an eye on everything here as we wait to see what further repairs need to be done, and hopefully soon we can get this rolling again.
It never gets boring here.
You sure about that?
I mean, I like the fact that we have never seen this before. This is new.
Yeah. That's a good point. We have a question here that came along with a super chat from Caleb asking, do you think 100% thrust on the booster will create damaging back pressure on the movement?
We have an update from the field saying they're making all cars move off Highway 4, and they may make the field move away 100 feet. Heavy equipment inbound.
Oh, that
boy.
must have been the truck that we saw that was coming through with the big lights.
Forklifts etc.
Wow. Forklifts.
What's happening? Okay, we are in for a ride here, I feel like.
No, we're in for not a ride at this point.
Yes. Oh god.
Adrian, I got so optimistic when you were like, "Oh, that there was like movement that I wasn't seeing." But nope.
Yeah, yeah. Apparently, this is not solved. It seems like they might switch out the complete power pack. The SPMT.
We have Jack, I believe, now on voice comms.
Hey.
Jack, you there?
Can you hear me? Am I a robot?
Nope,
No, you're good.
All right, so I don't know what you guys were just saying, so sorry if I'm repeating anything, but the sheriffs just asked everybody in the cars that are backed up behind this to move back about 100 feet, and they said that there is some heavy equipment being brought in, forklifts and the like. So it seems like they're bringing in some hardware to try and fix whatever issue it is. But yeah, clearly things are broken. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah, totally.
But it might just take a little bit to fix. I think, Adrian, a little while ago you were saying that the SPMTs sort of fail into a stable position. That certainly appears to be the case. I don't know that for a fact, but it seems like they're just, hanging out, not having the best of time or anything, but just trying to get this issue sorted so they can roll the rest of the way to the pad. But there is your report. I am the field.
Thanks, the field.
Thank you, the field.
Thank you, Field. And that is
Yeah.
coming again. He is right in the heart of the action there. Those cars that are backed up behind it. One of those is Jack.
Yeah, and again, I'm very but if you want to design a thing like an SPMT, IMO, you would design it in a way that it always doesn't change anymore once you lose, for example, pressure. Because you don't want to get into a situation where a failure of the SPMT means the whole stack unstables, whatever you're transporting. So I think the design would be in any way that it goes into a stable position once they have a failure.
Is that a drone out there that was along the right side, or was that just a camera thing?
I don't know. I see things
I
at this
didn't
point.
see any.
Yeah, again, it may just be the fact that it is at night, so our cameras are adjusting slightly. But
going back to the question that you had asked about the thrust, if that will damage the deluge plate because of back pressure. One thing I wanted to say about that is keep in mind that even though the pressure in the main combustion chamber is very high, the pressure of the exhaust and the dynamic pressure should be relatively low on the concrete, or on the deluge plate. So I don't think there should be that much pressure, and I think it's definitely something SpaceX should have been able to calculate to make sure that the roughly, if I had to guess, around 500 psi internal pressure is not exceeded with the external pressure.
I'm sure they factor that into the design. Again, realizing the fact that it's going to have to stop all of that. And as we've seen even from the static fire, it may not have been, the full amount of time that it'll be hit during the actual flight, but it appeared to actually do its job because it seemed like the worst damage was just it knocked over a fence.
Yeah, it seemed to perform quite well, especially with the extended duration. While we'll see significantly more thrust at liftoff, because that static fire, I believe SpaceX said, was at around 50%, and liftoff is expected to be 90% or higher. The duration should be somewhat similar, so it definitely looks promising.
Right, and the other thing that's also interesting that we've seen with the deluge test themselves and the static fire is the fact that there is a lot of water in there and a lot of outward pressure. I mean, that thing goes on for, almost 20 seconds it looks like at full power?
Yeah, something like that, and then nearly a full minute at partial, or like an additional 40 seconds at partial thrust, or power, I want to say.
Yeah, so regardless of how long they fire for, it appears to be less than we would actually, or it fires for longer than we would ever see the Raptors themselves actually firing down onto the pad itself. And two quick ones here for Jack. You got Kim with a $10 super chat with a tip for Jack. And then Josh asking, does the field or any of the NSF team know any of the SpaceX videographers at Starbase? I know that...
I'm not sure if Jack is on comp, but yes. We have, there's also have been, hangouts when we were there. At least in April, there was time we would just hang out with people that are there. Other videographers, other people. That's just happening. We have I have some very close friends that work from, for example, at other networks and other channels that cover this thing. So, but I think that's the case for every single location. Sawyer, for example, at the Cape, I also imagine you not only know NSF people.
Oh, that's for sure. I know a lot of people there, and again, I think kind of along the lines of what it's asking. I also know a lot of the NASA people, the people that work in the newsroom, heck, even the people that hold out the microphones at press conferences. When you've been doing it as long as I have, for those unaware, I've been a member of the press for 12 years now. Yeah. You get to know these people. You get to know their names, you get to know their faces, and they get to know you as well. So I'm sure it's the same down there. Starbase is, as much as going on there, and as much as we love showing everything to you, it's not really a common destination for people unless you're going there for space things. So the people that live down there or station themselves down there most of the time and do all the work on site, both on the SpaceX side and the photographer side, I mean, you get to know these people very well. Especially, I mean, there was a nice group of us at the Cape, at least, in the mid-2010s, when everyone basically, launches were dead. I mean, you would go to a CRS Falcon resupply mission, and there would maybe be 15, 20 people total. One of those, I should point out, was Chris G., along with a guy named Thad, who now works with NASA, and Robin, who works for a subsidiary of A24. So, yeah, you get to know people very well, especially when it's such a small, tight-knit community.
There you go.
Let's see. There's a question going back to what we were talking about earlier in the stream, but again, at this point, it's worth bringing all this stuff up again because it's been so long. Are the chopsticks in position to accept the ship for lift once it gets there, and are we expecting the lift right away? Trevor,
No.
where are we at?
Oh, good.
Yeah, Adrian and I just talked about when we're expecting lift when you were gone, and the answer is, at this point, probably early tomorrow afternoon. And yes, the chopsticks are in shiplifting mode.
Here we go. There's
I
a
want to point
look
out.
over at the area,
wanna-
by the way.
I want to point out they are in mode, but they are not like opened and positioned to lift right now. That's still like we're still a good chunk away of any potential lift. We are also one repaired SPMT away from a potential lift.
That too, yeah. Alright, let's see what else we got here. Again, chat, if you have any other questions, you tag us at NASASpaceflight as we keep an eye on this and get ready for rollout here. All the people keep drinking their coffee, sometimes morning coffee, it seems like, for people in Europe, trying to stay awake through this, as we are too here. Let's see. If you guys see any questions, also let me know.
No problem.
Happy to discuss any of those again as we keep an eye out on the work here.
Well, we answered that. How will
was nice.
SpaceX test or practice the catching of the booster?
Ooh, that's a good question then.
That's I mean, they will just try it. Like, the practice, I think, will be just trying it, right?
I would think so. And I mean, again, one of the biggest and most important things with all of this is the fact that they're doing it all at Starbase. And as we've talked about, the eventual goal is to let Starbase be the testing grounds so that you work it out there first before potentially damaging 39A or any other pad that they may occupy out there in the near future. So, yeah, I think soon, and the only way to do it is literally just that, just test it out. And a reminder, they basically have an entire second Starship tower just hanging out at Cape Canaveral right now. So worst comes to absolute worst, you could just bring all of it over by barge and build another one.
Here's a question from Trevor asking, will the full stack be as tall as the tower with the hot staging ring? No, the hot staging ring is only, like 1.8 meters tall or something like that. So it takes the booster to being about 71 meters and the full stack to being approximately 121, which is still quite a bit shorter than the tower.
I think it's the second tallest launch tower in the world, right? Mechazilla?
I believe so. I'm trying to remember what number 1 would be.
I think it's Blue Origin Slick 36, if I recall correctly. I think there was a fun fact about that.
That's a good question. But yeah, just kind of going along with that. What was the? I'm trying to see. Where was the question? The height of it. They did have to raise things on the tower ever so slightly, because keep in mind, like you said, it adds another 1.9 meters. That means you have to adjust where some of your quick disconnects are, where some of your attachment points are. So, they've had to make some modifications to it, but still. So it'll look about the same in terms of where everything is, but it'll be ever so slightly higher by a couple meters. Let's see. Apparently the Starbase tower is still taller than Blue Origin from what I'm seeing at the moment. It's close.
I'm trying to ask a resident Blue Origin expert, our scriptwriter Harry. But so I'm right now trying to verify it. But I think I remember there was a fun fact about that. I'm trying to verify. I will update if I get an update.
I would be surprised if Blue Origin's tower was larger at 36, but midnight, and I am not an expert with that, so.
It's only midnight where you are?
Yes.
Yes, we approach 12:45 Central, 1:45 Eastern. What is that? 5:45 UTC. So
I can tell you it's 7:47 German time.
Yeah, it's 5:47 UTC.
here we go. Here's an interesting question from Epsonode asking, how will Booster 9 relight its engines while free falling without header tanks?
B9 has header tanks. It has the liquid oxygen header tank, I believe, near the bottom of the booster. I can't remember exactly its location. And then the CH4 transfer tube acts as a header tank. And then there will still be propellant settling thrusters.
We have heavy equipment incoming.
Yes, we
There
were
we go.
warned by the field that they would be bringing it in. It'll be interesting to see what they end up bringing in here, what this heavy equipment is.
Yep.
We'll keep an
let's
eye out with
see.
our cameras here, yeah.
It's hard to see because apparently there's a lot of people with lights there.
How dare they actually look at what they're doing?
Yeah, it's tanker, right? That's tanker.
That's a tanker truck.
Huh.
Did they just run out of diesel?
Oh no, oh god, no. Please
I
no.
hope not.
I think maybe that tanker truck was not briefed that the road is maybe a bit closed right now.
Yeah, I was
Because
going to say, it's potential that they were going over to the tank farm.
And they're now like, guys?
Well, we'll see what they do now if they end up having to go around, and if they keep going, or if they'll end up stopping.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting. Chris B saying they're going to point it. Like,
I mean,
just give it some methane and some liquid oxygen and just do it.
yeah, that works. Isn't that just what everyone needs? A little bit of liquid oxygen, liquid methane, and boom, we'll just fly wherever we need to go.
I mean, at this point, we are 3 hours and 20 minutes into a rollout stream, so I'm game for that plan.
So you're saying we need to go 1 hour more to make Elon happy?
No, absolutely not. Beautiful, but it seems like that tanker truck is approaching the area, so... Oh my god, did they really run out? No, they didn't run. Oh, maybe they need to refill the other SPMT, as that maybe is still powered on to power some other equipment.
I don't know, it's hard to tell here.
Yeah.
Again, right now everything is just speculation based off of what we're able to see. Here's a
more
good
heavy
view.
equipment.
That?
That appears to be a forklift.
Yeah.
I think that might be the forklift to raise the power pack.
In terms of replacing it or being able to access something?
Well, maybe if you replace it, you first need to remove and raise it, right?
Well, that's what I mean, if they're having to replace a whole new one. Because we did see what appeared to be a flatbed truck towards the back of the pack, which had something on it that was a little difficult to see. So it is possible that they may just literally lift out a whole portion and add a new one in.
Yep. Yeah, I don't think I don't think it's a fuel issue though, because I don't think they would have been grounded for this long a time because of a fuel issue.
Right, and again, they leave in some leeway, I'm sure, with fuel, and keeping in mind they then also have to roll it away. So
Yeah.
it's not like they don't have that extra fuel capacity ready to go for those very reasons. Yeah, and there goes the forklift, followed by another truck with flashing lights, I guess just leading it there.
And by the way, Gunfox61 and several other people in chat have noted that the Starbase tower is in fact the tallest at 479 feet tall.
I wonder if that changed maybe with the installation of the lightning pole at the top. Because I remember there was a fun fact at some point during Mechazellus construction, but I don't remember the fun fact right now. It's like, once you have this fact in your head, you're like, there was a point here. but I don't know. I don't remember where the point was. That's the problem with rockets. There's a lot of things to learn about them, and yeah. So I stand corrected. The Starbase Tower is the biggest one.
There we go. And it's the whole. I don't think I even need to go there with the Jeff Bezos versus Elon Musk stuff, but it's kind of that battle of who's going to have the tallest tower.
Yeah, I mean, they built, I think, the LC-36 also with potentially New Armstrong in mind. So, like the next rocket after New Glenn. So, we'll see.
Exactly. We do have a couple other messages of support here that I do want to address. High Frequency Hertz saying, hop test, let's go. We're all ready for it. Just waiting for SpaceX to be ready, and FAA to be ready, and range to be ready, and all of that. And then Multimutant Gamer asking, what do you think of the original Starship design compared to the current one? I don't know if he means going back to BFR days when that was first announced.
Or maybe even MCT, the Mars Colonial Transporter.
That could
we had MCT, then we had ITS, then we had BFR, then it was Starship. Like, are we about which original we are talking?
The main one I tend to think of is the presentation that Elon gave at one of the ISDC conferences.
That was the ITS, I think, the Interplanetary Transport System.
Yes, it was.
So that would be wait, let me think. That was 12 diameter, right?
It was 12-meter diameter, larger Raptor, and I believe Raptor was hydrogen powered.
It was, yes.
Yeah, and also, yeah, you had a lift-off thrust of 13,000 tons. Vehicle height was 122 meters, tank diameter 12 meters, and LEO payload was 550 tons.
Whoa! Goodness gracious.
Yeah, that was a different vehicle.
Yeah. I mean, with all the animations we've seen of Starship to Mars, who knows? Maybe bring some of that back in the future. And Starship Heavy, anybody?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's obvious that I think at the time of that presentation, SpaceX had just, if I remember correctly, had just landed a few boosters. And here they are, 240 or whatever booster landings, or 220 booster landings later. And they've learned a lot and incorporated that into Starship's design. So this is just a better design from a physics point of view, else SpaceX wouldn't have landed on it.
Yeah, also they reduced the diameter because of cost issues, right? Because 12 meters, like a 12-meter diameter BFR would be an insane project. Like, Starship is already crazy, but now imagine the mass and power of a, like, it increases a lot if you just increase the diameter by 3 meters. And the Starship is probably a much more feasible design for now. And once they figure out Starship, I mean, there will be a rocket after Starship. Starship will not be the final rocket, and there will be, probably from the talks that Elon Musk has given in the past and the general direction, the goal would be to increase tank diameter and not to attach cores. So, I mean, we might see a 12-meter BFR-like or ITS-like ship in the future. Just not yet.
It's late in the night, so it's time for some math. So the reason why you don't want to do a Starship Heavy, like what they did with Falcon Heavy, where you have 3 Starship or Super Heavy boosters tied together, is because that is a very inefficient way to add propellant mass. Because if you think about it, the mass of your tanks is proportional to the radius, or technically the diameter, right? You have 2 pi r radius times your height, and that's the amount of material that you need for your tanks. However, the volume of those tanks goes up by the square of radius, so you get inherently a significantly more mass efficient way to store propellant when you have larger diameter tanks. So it just makes more sense from that point of view. And then, of course, there's the whole, as SpaceX learned, strapping 3 cores together is a more difficult problem than they thought. So it's good to just avoid vehicles that are strapping boosters together.
Nerd.
You're the only person I know that at 1 a.m. in the night decides, yeah, now it's time for math. But again, I think it's a very good explanation. Like, memes aside. Good explanation, and I think it's a very reasonable take.
I think so too. But I went to school for journalism, not math. Just throwing that out there. So I believe whatever you say. But yeah, no, I also 99 Raptors would be nuts. But at the same time, what payload would ever want to be launched into space that's 550 tons? That's absolutely nuts.
It very much comes down, I think, to the Mars efforts, because that's the kind of payload you probably only can fill if you're talking about supporting a colony on Mars or like on the Moon. Otherwise, like, what would you do with it? Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, as is right now, the plan using Starship would be, you know, you've got multiple tankers in orbit. You can refuel your vehicles on their way out to either the Moon or Mars. Eventually, you'll also have Gateway, a station orbiting around the Moon, which you can attach multiple Starships to. Again, it's an international docking adapter that can be used there. And I'm sure they'll do a lot of uncrewed flights out to Mars first, both A, proof of concept, and B, you know, setting up a base so that once humans do get there, it's just you land and all the stuff you need's already there. You just got to finish setting some of it up. Speaking of finishing setting some of it up, as we approach the top of the hour here now, it's just about 1 a.m. Central Time. First movement was around 9:30-ish Central Time, if I recall. Going on 3.5 hours now. We did see some heavy machinery make its way out to the pad. We saw a forklift out there. We saw a flatbed, truck, or lorry, whichever you want to call it, out there. At this point, it seems like it may still be a little while. So what we are going to do is we are going to wrap up our commentary portion of the stream, but we will continue to monitor this fix and the roll and everything over on Starbase Live. So before I throw it over to that, I do want to thank the people that have stuck with me here for this last 3.5 hour, 1 hour stream. Adrian, thanks for staying up super late into the early morning for us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And again, we want to make sure that like everybody here is getting the rest they need, because in the end, part of the team that is right now operating this here might also be needed for a potential lift, which we also want to cover. So it's like there's limitations of how much we can do in a day without sleep. So at this point, with this probably taking hours, we just want to prioritize other things as well and make sure we have the energy we need to cover everything here, because so much is going on.
Exactly. Also in studio here, Trevor, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, of course. This will be one of those streams that I remember all too well, since you thought it would be an hour, ends up being, you know, maybe 6 by the time it gets to the pad. So thanks everyone for joining us, and hope you guys have a great day, night, whatever it is where you are.
We were all talking about the 9-hour lift stream recently, so we get it. And out in the field, we have the field himself, Jack. So thanks for rolling out there and getting these cameras set up. And I know you've been recording some also video that we'll get to see, and maybe even some stuff over on SBL. So thank you for rolling out and dealing with the traffic jam.
Also Sean.
And Sean is out there as well, yes. Jack just happened to be the one on comms, so shout out to Sean out there too. And behind the scenes, Kevin Michael Reed, pushing the buttons, pulling the levers, producing this craziness. So Kevin, thank you. And then again, a huge shout out to the entire Starbase Live team that have been up at this hour, also helping with moving cameras, setting shots, things like that. I know we have Gage here in the back channel with us at the moment, and a whole team that works on SBL constantly, and appreciate all of them. I have been your host. I am Sawyer Rosenstein, and at this point, again, we will continue to monitor the repairs, it appears, to the SBMT and finishing the rollout to the launch site. We'll be able to do that over on Starbase Live, and hopefully you guys will stick around for that. And again, join us hopefully at some point later today for when we finally get to see the full stack of Ship 25 and Booster 9. Have a good night, everybody, and go SPMTs!
And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Traveling up. Roger, Atlantic.
Water towers fly! Yes! They go down to nominal.
Fighting down to SPD off. Bring in SPD off. Off. It's orange! Orange 25! Oh my god! Oh my god! Decollage! What is it? Put that in the big bag,
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?